Thank you, and good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Board of Education meeting for Holt Public Schools on Monday, April 19th, 2001. And I will call the meeting to order, noting that we have all board members present, with the exception of Ms. Bureau.
Correct.
Okay. And next, Dr. Hornick, if you can lead us to the Pledge of Allegiance.
Okie dokie. Would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I am standing, by the way. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Board, we have a mission and a vision statement. The mission statement of Holt Public Schools is to innovate, educate, and inspire, empowering all students to make a positive impact in their communities. The vision of Holt Public Schools is to empower our learning community to make a positive impact in the world. President Perry, before we go much further, I'd like to share some opening thoughts. Spring in Michigan is generally considered a season of rebirth and hope as nature throws away winter's blanket. Now, I've been watching the forecast. I've seen anywhere between 2 and 8 inches of snow this week. Last I heard it might stay south of Jackson, but to that end, we also find ourselves once again bearing eyewitness to the cycle of racism, hate, and violence in our country. The recent events that we've witnessed across the nation demonstrate our collective need to continue to stand up to racism and hate and emphasize the need to continue to address mental health concerns. It will take each of us to make a difference for all of us. Moving forward, throughout the pandemic, the health and safety of our learning community has remained our highest priority. And you've heard me say this before. Over the past year, some of our decisions have been received as too risky. Some of our decisions have been received as too conservative. And I can tell you with confidence that we put a great deal of time into each decision we make. And it is extremely difficult to get those decisions exactly where they fit to meet the needs of all of the members of our learning community. I am proud of the work of our educators. I'm proud of the decisions you as a Board of Education have made, and I'm proud of our admin team. We are certainly at our best when we are in front of and alongside of our students. I have a student in Holt Public Schools, and he has returned to face-to-face. Now he's currently in a remote format because he's in high school, but just having some routine has paid dividends for him. We've been required to be extremely flexible and agile with our thinking. And since the beginning of this pandemic, our faculty and staff have risen to meet the challenge. Finally, we continue to take our guidance from the Ingham County and Barry Eaton District Health Departments. To that end, we are required by the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services to display our positive and probable COVID-19 cases once verified by the health departments on our website. Once we receive notification from our health department partners, close contacts are notified. I will tell you that we continue to hear good things from our local health departments. They are pleased with our use of masks. They are pleased with our use of desk shields, and they continue to validate the fact that we are 6 feet apart during the school day. And finally, when we do have close contacts, the principal sends communication home and makes those outreach calls. Again, this has been a difficult year on all of us. We are doing the best we can. I appreciate the ongoing support that the Board of Education has provided. Our admin team, our educators, and especially our students continue to do a remarkable job. Thank you for allowing a few minutes to share my thoughts.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Hornick. We'll move to agenda item number 2, changes to the agenda. And board members, if you could go to agenda item number 7 and 7.2.3, replace that with mulch rather than carpet in the tile project. And we would like to add under section 12-1, which will be closed session, and then 12-2, which will be open session. Hang on, I'm missing some papers here. All right, next on the agenda is our public comment. And for anyone that would like to address the board, this is the time that you may do so. Please remember, it is not a dialogue between yourself and the board, although we may follow up with you later to ask some questions. There is a 5-minute time limitation, and that we ask that you be courteous. We also ask that you not use any employee names or student names. And lastly, if you could state your name for the record. In the absence of Miss Bureau, Dr. Horn.
Yes, we've arranged our vice president to take over. So we're going to pass this to Vice President Dalton.
Thank you very much. This evening, you may start with Sally Hawk Harrison, please.
Sally, if you're speaking, you are muted.
Hi, can you hear me now? I bumped it and it went rejoining and started spinning. Me and technology sometimes don't get along. I don't know. Okay. Thank you, Holt Public Schools. I just love you guys. I just am so in favor of the bond issue. I am so excited about the bond issue. I want to just sing the praises of the bond committee. It's just so wonderful. Ben Bakken is like drill sergeant leader with love. I don't know. It's just wonderful. My biggest thing I want to talk about is the school lunches. The home where I am a home health care nurse has a kindergartner and a second grader at Wilcox. They have done nothing but complain about the school lunches because it's not a hot lunch. It's a sandwich with a banana and grapes and chips and pickles or whatever else kind of thing. Why is it our lunches are not hot lunches? I know you can't answer me, right? It's one of those things. We have kitchens in every school. We have the ability to make them hot lunches. Why can't we be doing pizza and lasagna and spaghetti and other wonderful things that kids get and love? Sometimes this is the only hot meal some of these kids get, and it's a sandwich. I don't understand that. I just don't understand that. And I didn't even know that until one time one of the kids came home and they were complaining about it. The other thing is these senior signs that are going to go up. I just love the idea of that. I think that is such a celebration. It is so wonderful. But remember what happened last year? They got ripped off. Is anyone thinking about putting up any kind of video cameras so that we can like watch who's doing the vandalism? I don't know if anybody has them out in the community that would they be willing to loan or any of that. That's pretty much all I have, except that I appreciate you and I appreciate all that you guys do. Thank you.
Thank you, Sally.
Thank you. Next, we have Tim Damon.
Vice President Dalton, could you repeat that name one more time for me, please?
You know what? I'm looking. I don't see right off on the list. That's someone that was on that signed up in advance. Tim Damon. At least I'm not seeing it right off. All right. We can check back in a bit. Next name I have is Chris Keck. And I do see that name in the list of attendees.
Can everyone hear me?
We can.
Good evening. My name is Chris Keck. I'm a longtime Holt resident of over 20 years, the proud parent of a graduating 2021 senior. Congratulations to all those kids who are going to make it through probably one of the most difficult years of their lives. I am the business agent for the Plumbers and Pipe Fitters Local 333 here in Lansing, and I'm also the president of the Greater Lansing Building Trades Council. I'm here to speak in favor of the bond proposal because it's an investment for our kids' future that we absolutely need to make. The reason I support it, Lucas Schraben is a good salesman with the Innovation Center, and Lucas and I have had several conversations, and I don't know if there's anybody more passionate about it than that guy. He's great. Over the years we've pushed kids towards that college path, which is the right thing to do. But what about the kids that don't want to go to college? What about the kids that want to work with their hands and build things for a living? There's not much of a path for them right now. And, there's high demand jobs right now that don't require a 4-year degree. With the work of Lucas and Holt Public Schools, we've gotten a good start. But when this bond passes May 4th, we can expand and grow those options. Being in construction for over 25 years and remembering what I went through in high school, and back then we had shop classes. I'm sure a lot of you remember those, and I took as many as I could. I knew college wasn't for me, and I knew that I wanted to build things, be able to see what I accomplished at the end of each day, visualize what I was working on, and seeing the finished product completed and feeling a sense of pride when it was. And I've talked to a lot of kids in Holt, and I know there are many kids in Holt Public Schools that want these things as well, and we need to be able to give them that path. I believe if this bond is passed with the improvements to the Innovation Center, it will give Holt schools a big push towards giving the kids an option to do something they're passionate about. That's why I'm voting yes. And I just want to throw a little plug in there. This month, Lucas will be hopefully bringing out a bunch of Holt Public School kids and their families to see the kinds of options that are out there, like our apprenticeship program with Local 333. And all of the trades have the same kind of programs. So if you know someone that's looking for that, a kid that's looking for that avenue, please reach out. And I just ask that all Holt and Dimondale residents vote yes, because it is an investment for our kids' future. Thanks for letting me speak.
Thank you, Mr. Keck.
Now, I've been informed that Mr. Damon is listed under Lansing Chamber. So, Mr. Damon, if you're still interested in speaking. Thank you.
Okay, great. So it's the inevitable question. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. So my apologies. When I logged on on the chamber account. So, well, good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to say a few words tonight. I think I'm wearing a couple hats. I think one in representing the Lansing Regional Chamber of Commerce and more than 1,100 businesses that we represent throughout the region, and then two, and then something I'm very proud of, and that's as a parent of 2 Holt School graduates and Delhi Township residents. And last month, we were pleased to announce our support of the Holt Public School bond proposal. And I think as we evaluated that through our policy committee and our board of directors, we looked back and we've been pretty consistent over the years in supporting the growth of our students and education partners throughout the region through a number of bond proposals, over the last few years. And I think our education policy position statement, it reads something along these lines, and that is that, we believe every student should have the diverse skills that prepare them for success in life, career, and his or her post K-12 education. And also an effective, efficient, and accountable K-12 education system is critical to growing and strengthening our students in the talent pipeline for employers. So much like Chris, who spoke before me, really trying to make sure that we're setting our kids on on a diverse career path, and whether that is higher education, whether it's associate's degree, whether it's a professional trade, just making sure that they have that skill set. So, businesses continue to identify jobs, the economy, workforce development, education, which we believe, and I believe it all equals talent at the end of the day, as being their top priorities for their businesses in our region. And your bond proposal that's addressing the learning environments, the safety and security, the infrastructure and the innovation, it certainly aligns with our policy priorities, and we're certainly pleased to be able to support that. So, and I think personally, more as a Delhi resident, and as I mentioned, the parent of 2 graduates, I've had the opportunity to experience the strength of the Holt Public Schools and its leadership over the years, including current superintendent David Hornak, and certainly believe that the strength of a community and school district, they're interconnected. They are so critically tied together with what and how we not only support our kids, but also to how we support and strengthen communities that are attracting in new families to keep our schools strong and growing. So again, thank you for the opportunity to share a few thoughts this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Damon.
Next, we have Jacqueline Wood.
Okay. Hello, my name is Jacqueline Wood. Can you hear me? Okay. I've lived in the Diamonddale Holt community for over 55 years. I attended Diamonddale Elementary in the 1950s, and I attended the Diamonddale High School in the 1960s. Both of my children are Holt graduates, as well as I am. And I'm voting for the bond issue for a number of reasons, and I wanted to share those with you. I know what happens when a community does not support its schools. When I attended the Diamonddale High School, the community was unwilling to vote for any bond issue to maintain that school, which resulted in the school being condemned and torn down. That's why Diamonddale was fortunate to have the Holt Public Schools agree through a vote to consolidate Diamonddale with Holt. It was because that building was not maintained. The best thing that ever happened to my education was to come to Holt. And I could go on to and share with you all the reasons why that was a better move. Later, I became a school board member for the Holt Public Schools and served on the board for 21 years. However, that was 20 years ago when I left. And when I was on the board, we went and passed millages, or bond issues and millages, bond issues to build Horizon, Washington Woods, the high school to add classrooms to existing elementary buildings. But ever since then, we haven't been able to do a major building project for the district. And I volunteer with the Holt schools for the last 10 years. And I've been in many of the buildings that you're now looking at replacing or doing major repair on. I've seen water systems that have had to be shut off and water coolers put up because the water hasn't been safe for our kids. I've seen drainage problems where playgrounds are being flooded, where neighborhoods are being flooded. I've seen mortar coming out of bricks on our walls of our schools. I've seen playground equipment that's rusty and needs to be replaced, and the list could go on. So it's really time for the district to take the move for a bond issue, which I commend all of you for doing that because it is very needed. And I very much hope that the Diamonddale community and the Holt community will vote in favor of this bond issue for our children and for the future of our communities. Diamonddale hasn't had any new construction in terms of buildings, private or building, other than our marijuana facility. And I'd like to be known for something more than just a marijuana facility. I would love to have a new elementary school in Dimondale, and I know the children would also. That doesn't even speak to the safety concerns of all the parents picking up their children. When I went to school, you either walked or you rode the school bus. And when my children went to school, you either walked, rode your bike, or the school bus. But now you have 50 or more cars lined up in an area to pick up children that wasn't designed for them. And I'm so glad that you're looking at how to handle that traffic flow, because I worry about the children's safety. And with that, those are all the reasons why I'm voting and encouraging others to vote for the bond issue. It's very needed, and I want to thank all of you for having the courage to put that bond issue out there during a time when people say they don't want their taxes raised. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Woods.
Next, I'm just checking the list here. We have Tara Farhat.
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me?
We can.
Okay. So I've been, I want to just say this, I'm a supporter of Holt, and I will be voting yes. To be honest, I was stubborn at first and was feeling like I didn't want to vote yes because I was upset with our very conservative approach we took in returning to school over the past year, and our virtual learning setup. However, I did challenge myself to think more long-term, and I love Holt, and I'm a graduate of Holt, and my dad is a graduate of Holt, and I chose to come back to Holt to raise my family. We have 6 kids, and I'm just passionate about our community and making sure I do what's best for the community. And I mean, why I'm choosing this is for the children of our community. The elementary schools were old when I went to school here, and they were being patched back then, and they're no longer, those patches are not holding. If we do want to be competitive for our children and continue to give them that edge, we need this. What excites me the most is also the Innovation Center. I have 2 children that actually already are benefiting from programs that are provided from, you know, Luke Schrauben and what he's done with, you know, secondary education, but also with our kids who are also excelling in school. I have, you know, a son who went through the energy class and decided that he was going to go in that way and got an apprenticeship, and now is getting all of his school paid for through from the actually Louts Construction, a local construction company, to become a project manager there. My daughter's a junior, and she participates in Project Lead the Way for future engineers. So those are just my kids. And I also have a child in kindergarten at Dimondale, and I get to see what that school looks like. And, you know, I hate to say it, but I'm ashamed of that, you know, the fact that we live in a community like we do, and, you know, we have a school like that. I want to put that resource and my own, you know, dollars towards that school. I mean, honestly, my other thing is I live in Holt. I want to maintain my property value. I want to continue to draw young professionals to set roots like we did as a family. In order to do that, having new up-to-date schools coupled with security and innovation is the right path. And I want to get past what we lost over this last year and get back to where we need to be to give our children the best we can at Holt. And because I know that the kids here can do anything if given the opportunity. So that's just what I wanted to say. I'm a supporter. Go Rams.
All right, thank you, Ms. Farhat.
Next, Sheriff Scott Wrigglesworth.
How about now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Gotcha.
All right. Thanks to the Board of Education and Dr. Hornak for all your leadership through the last year and several months and going into the future. So Holt and the Holt Public Schools have always been a big part of my family and my life. My brothers and I are 1988, 85, and 93 graduates of the Holt Public Schools. My mom taught at Midway for 20 years, and my dad and I both served for many years on the Holt Board of Education. Our kids are our future. The time to invest in our school buildings, infrastructure, and future is now. My time as a parent having kids at the Holt Public Schools is coming to an end with my son Jake graduating next year. And just a few short years after that, none of my immediate family will have kids attending Holt Public Schools. Even so, our commitment as a family is to continue to support the Holt Public School system. The Holt Public School system has been a big part of my family's successes in life, and we know many other families, past, present, and future, have and will say the same thing. The more we can invest in our educational system now will make our community, our families, and the world around us a better place. I think we can all agree now, maybe more than ever, we need that. I'm encouraging everybody to vote yes on the 2021 Holt School Bond. Our kids, our support staff, and our teachers and administrators deserve it. It has never been a more challenging or demanding time to work in education or to be a teacher. A simple yes vote on May 4th is the only thank you many of them will ever need. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Sheriff Wrigglesworth.
Thanks. Next. A sec, let me look here. Krissa Blankenberg. That's Krissa with a C.
I'm here. Got it. Got it now. All right. Good evening. I am a mother of 3 current students across elementary, junior high, and high school, and 2 Holt grads. I'm also a HEAT community member. Adding classroom additions, new technology, infrastructure, and reconstructing 2 new elementary schools that currently serve our lower performing student population will increase equity and result in improved outcomes. Research has shown a direct link between the condition of schools and a school's ability to educate, in addition to showing factors like poor temperature control, indoor air quality, and lighting can negatively affect student learning. Other research has suggested that improving school facilities could boost teacher retention as much as, if not greater than, raising teacher salary. Poor school building conditions leave in place a terrible pattern of inequity. It is my hope that the Holt community will vote yes, and we will see improved outcomes and increased equity for our underperforming school locations in Diamond Doyle and Sycamore when it comes to the elementary schools, and in addition to an increasing equity and with the Innovation Center. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Carissa.
Chris Silver.
Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to speak. How are you all?
Right.
I would like to share a little bit about myself. I am a real estate agent with Keller Williams. The majority of my business, the vast majority of my business takes place in the Holt School District. I've had 18 sales in the past 12 months alone. That makes me the largest agent by volume count and by unit count in our market center for Greater Lansing in the Holt School District. And so I felt it was important to be present tonight and speak for my support of the Holt School Bond. I do think it's a great opportunity for residents of the Holt School community to create an insured presence in the Greater Lansing area with more competitive schools, maintain the desirability of the school district, which protects property values. I'm also very impressed with the Holt School Board's decision and fiscal responsibility in making this a tax reduction. In my experience in real estate and in working with home sales in many districts in all of Greater Lansing, It is my experience that in similar situations, most school districts would either seek for a simple extension of the same mill rate or a slight increase. And in most cases, when necessary or when opportunity arises, I think school districts find opportunities to spend money that comes in. And I really want to applaud and highlight the fact that the Holt School Board has really taken it upon themselves to be responsible and conscientious of the taxable status of Holt. And they've really listened to the community in a way to make this a win-win. And I think that that's important and should be recognized on May 4th. In regards of home sales and property values, I do think it should be noted that while the market has increased by approximately 20% or so overall since 2000, the last time the mill rate was passed in Holt, home values have increased from 505 mills to over 870. And I believe that that is a reflection of the continued growth and desirability of Holt schools. I will speak that many of my home sales exist in the Horizon district, and I believe that that district does derive some higher home values and per square foot values because of the investments made in that school. And I think that that will be reflected in the investments made in Sycamore and Diamonddale. And I believe those communities and districts deserve new schools, and I believe that the students that will be served by those schools will benefit both educationally and through increased equity in their homes, which, as we know, creates generational impacts. When I am working with buyers looking to purchase homes, one of the key questions every buyer asks is, how are the schools? And when you look at the potential that exists in this Holt district, I think that it's undeniable that upward trend is in effect and will continue. And I hope that that support continues on May 4th by the passage of this bond. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Chris.
Next, we have John Hayhoe.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm your Delhi Township Supervisor. I've lived in this community for over 50 years, and this is the first time in 50 years I've approached the board because I feel passionate about the school board. My wife and I put 4 children through the whole schools. They went to Elliott, Sycamore, Holt Middle School, and the old high school. And we really appreciate that. Kindergarten to seniors, 4 of them. One was gifted and talented. My daughter was gifted and talented, and my son was special ed. But you both gave them their education, and they both graduated. The special ed one, he had to go to that school that was on Cedar Street, the old bowling alley, and you had nighttime school for him and summer school, but he graduated with his class, and I appreciate that. The thing I want to bring up is all those schools that my children went to were paid by somebody else. The generation before us paid for all those schools. And I just feel that I should in turn make some, payments for the new schools that are going to come in and help those children. Everything's good like that. So I appreciate what the schools have done. I appreciate the way they brought people into the community. Several people have said how the community's growing. Delhi is just a fantastic place with the parks. It has a senior citizen center, the farmers market, and it has the whole schools. And I put those all together, and people are moving in. It's like the real estate person said, Dr. Hornick, and on our last podcast, we found out there's about 10 houses for sale, 10 houses for sale in Holt because everybody wants to move in. They want to come in to our schools. And as long as that's happening, the prices of houses are rising, which helps the homeowners. And it's just a great place. The relationship we have between the township and the schools is special. When I go to some conventions, township conventions, they say, how do you guys do that down there in Holt? And I just said, hey, the school provides our parks and recs with fields, and we don't have to pay for those. In turn, we help the schools with some things, and you guys don't have to pay for those, like your resource officer. So as Dr. Hornick says, together is better, and I'm just in favor of this. And like I say, this is the first time I've approached the school board in over 50 years, and I feel passionate about this. So my wife and I have already turned in our voting things 3 weeks ago, and somebody put a sign out in my front yard today, and I appreciate that. In fact, I took a picture of that and put it on Facebook, and all I've gotten is positive responses. So I know this is going to pass, and I just appreciate what all you guys do on your township board. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hayhoe. And you don't have to wait another 50 years and come back.
Next, we have Pat Brown.
Was that Pat Brown?
Yes, sir.
All right, that is me. Hey, I just want to say hi to Jackie Wood. She and I went to school together back in Holt. I was also at Holt High School when the Diamonddale people invaded us, and who are these stranger kids coming over, and what are we going to do with them? And look what happened. So it was a great marriage between Diamonddale and Holt. I'd just like to take a few minutes to, first of all, thank you for the opportunity to speak in favor of this important bond topic. Most of you know me. If you don't, I'm Pat Brown, a lifelong resident of Holt and currently the president and owner of Holt Diamonddale Insurance Agency here. I attended Midway School back in the 50s, when before any of you were probably born yet. Went to the old junior high school over on Holt Road in my 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. That was when we had it there. And finally completed 9 through 12 at the current, what we have now is the junior high. I graduated in 1966. My wife, 3 children, and 1 grandchild are Holt grads, and we now have 5 grandchildren currently attending Holt Public. So we're spread out all over the place. I added a little something different to this. My presentation is the word trust. You know, my father established his insurance agency here in Holt in 1960. His clients and friends placed their trust in him, and that his knowledge to provide adequate insurance protection as at a budget-worthy cost. 61 years later, my father's trust values remain the backbone of our successful business. I joined the Delhi Township Fire Department, actually with Holt Volunteer Fire Department back in '72 as a way to help my community. Running into burning buildings seems somewhat insane. But I placed my complete trust in my fellow officers and instructors that my safety would remain priority 1, and I'm still here today. I returned to Delhi Fire in 2000 as a full-time fire marshal, fire inspector, fire instructor, and EMS director. It was my turn now to give back my knowledge so others could place their trust in my ability to keep them safe. As a business owner, past president and now member of the Holt Business Alliance, Delhi Township trustee, part of the Holt Kiwanis, the Education Foundation, and Rotary, we continue to promote growth in our township, as well as residential and commercial development projects. And again, I'll put it this way, what better bait to offer up than educational facilities that foster the health, wellness, and safety of all students for years to come. And I'll piggyback onto John's statement that people paid it for us. So why don't we pay it forward to those that are coming up? Look at the Diamonddale community. What a positive attraction for growth a new elementary could bring to the young families who want to settle in their community. They truly deserve it. This upcoming bond issue is about placing trust in the team of professionals that the Holt Public Board of Education has selected to accomplish the established need. Each of those committees providing their project-specific piece of the puzzle with the professionalism that the board has placed their trust in. As much valuable information as possible has been made available for viewing, questioning, and asking, comments. The transparency is overwhelming. We could talk about the millage issue all night, but the fact remains this much needed infrastructure overhaul could be accomplished at reduced cost from our current millage basis. This opportunity is rare, and if not taken advantage of, will become more costly in the future if not passed. If we allow the current 10 mills to completely expire, the chances of asking the voting public to pass a completely 8 or 9 mil or 10 mil bond in the future, in my opinion, is rather slim. Just like our Michigan roads and bridges of today, we may get so far behind that we may never catch up. I've read many statements and comments relating to the high taxes in Delhi Township. Fact is, we, the voters, have created our own millage base. We voted for the police, the fire, the EMS, the parks, the library, the CATAs, and everything that's out there so we could have the best of the best. And yes, we did vote, by a slim margin and pass the high school bond 20 years ago. Our school time is over. Let's make it better for our generations to succeed us. Put your trust in those that are offering this issue before us. I truly have. And I encourage a yes vote on May 4th because I definitely will do so. I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Brown.
Next, we have John Girdwood.
Hey, good evening, everyone. It's great to be here with you. I'm John Girdwood, Class of 97 Rules, and I am the Executive Director of the Holt Community Foundation. I'm here to do two things. Number one is I'm going to throw out the first pitch on Thursday at the Holt softball game. The Holt Community Foundation raised money to purchase new uniforms for the Holt varsity softball team. And so if you buy new uniforms for the team, they will let you throw out the first pitch. And so that's going to be at 3:30. You can join us at the Holt softball field at Holt High School. So that's a introduction to how important I think the Holt public schools are and how much of an anchor they are in the community. As I run the Holt Community Foundation, we do a lot of events, alumni events, community events on the grounds and facilities of Holt Public Schools. And we wouldn't be able to conduct our events without the facilities and the grounds of the schools. We would have to look elsewhere to other places, and it wouldn't be a strong Holt community. You can tell by everyone's messages before me, the real estate guy, the parents, the sheriff, Chamber of Commerce, volunteers, I was taking notes, and Chris from the trade union, that everybody here in the community is really united in our belief that education is an essential component of what makes Holt a great community. So I'll just end by saying, I hope I'm a good luck charm, because the last time I spoke to the school board was in support of naming the football field after Coach Mike Smith. So I'm hoping to keep the streak alive and be a good luck charm for this upcoming bond vote on May 4th. So if you really support a strong community and you want to take pride in Holt, and you want to tell people you went to Holt, your kids went to Holt, and they'll say, oh, wow, Holt is a pretty cool school, then vote yes on the bond, May 4th. I'm a proud alumni of Holt, and thanks for allowing me to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Girdwood.
Next, we have Ralph Resnick.
How about that? Can you hear me now?
We can hear you.
Ah, very good. The beauty of speaking later on down in the line is that so many of the people have covered so many of the points that I was going to make. So I can make this very short. I am speaking tonight. I am Ralph Resnick, the president of the Village of Diamondale, and I am speaking tonight in support of the bond. It is clear to me, and I think to a big part of our population here in Diamondale and in Holt, that at a minimum, many of these villages, many of these buildings are in need of repair and upgrades. The buildings weren't built for the safety concerns of today and or the environmental health concerns that we need to provide to our students, provide them a safe and healthy learning environment. So that's just something that all the schools need. But I'm here in particular, maybe somewhat selfishly, to speak to the value of the Diamondale Elementary School to our community, and how overjoyed I was to see that this proposal had a new school to be constructed in the village of Diamondale, which makes a commitment to the village for a school for decades. Something, as you probably all have heard from time to time, the rumors come up that the Diamondale Elementary is going to be closed, and our kids will go to another school somewhere in Holt. And building a new school here will means that there's a commitment to the community and an investment in our community that is very hard to match. So I cannot support the bond enough. Having a new school will be a state-of-the-art facility for the education of our children, as well as the tremendous resources that it provides to our community for everything from to events, to places to meet, entertain, have festivities, etc. And just for our, it ties our community together by the community bringing their children together into that place. So I am urging our community in particular, but the bond is important for the entire district. There's no question. But I'm really urging the Dimondale community to vote for this bond and establish a new school for a long time here in our village. Thank you. That's what I had to say.
Thank you, Mr. Resnick.
Next, we have Jennifer Malinowski.
Can you hear me okay?
We can.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thanks for allowing me the time to speak. First of all, just for full disclosure purposes, I am an active substitute teacher in the district, although I'm technically employed through EduStaff, but I am doing this on my own time with my own computer and equipment and stuff. Anyway, I just wanted to say my family settled in Holt in 2003. We have 2 kids in the district that have been in the district for 11 years now. And I've spent a ton of time in quite a few of the schools between my kids' athletic activities, volunteering, substitute teaching, band activities, all sorts of stuff. I've been in pretty much almost every single school in the district. And when I saw the bond proposal, the first thing I thought was just yes. I mean, everything that I saw outlined in the improvements to the schools, I could see exactly what the district wanted to accomplish and why they wanted to accomplish it. And so I really think that should this bond pass, it will be a benefit to not only our students, but our staff who deserve the investment in the schools. They work very hard for our students. I've been listening to all these different people speaking about the bond, and I've only approached the board 2, maybe 3 times in the 11 years we've been in the district, and or myself. And I agree. It's a matter of putting the investment in so that we show that we appreciate our staff, we show we appreciate our kids, we invest in the community so that we continue to make Holt a desirable place to live. But it's also a matter of trust. And the gentleman who spoke of trust got me thinking, and Dr. Hornick's going to smile when I tell this story, but my girls both went to Horizon, and on my older daughter, she's a freshman in high school now, and her first day of preschool, my younger daughter, who's about 1.5 years old, had a medical emergency at pickup, and it resulted in the ambulance being called. And that was the first time I ever approached the board, because the school was so, the staff was so amazing in how they handled it. Dr. Hornack was on the phone with the EMT so I could tend to my daughter. Mrs. Wilkes was helping me. Miss Marcia took my older daughter away so she didn't have to see her sister in a medical situation. And, that was my first experience, my first real experience with Holt schools. And so I know that the love and dedication that our staff put towards our students, and I think that the community, the fact that the community should trust that the improvements that they're putting in are going towards making sure our kids are learning in healthy and safe spaces. And so I don't know, I was just thinking about that and really wanted to share that story. I know I'm reiterating a lot of what other people have said, but I just really appreciate your time. And I hope that the rest of the community will join me in voting yes on the bond proposal.
Thank you, Ms. Malinowski.
On my list, I have Mark Hendel. I see his name keep popping up and disappearing. I don't know if he's currently here. Mark Hendel.
Vice President Dalton, I do not see the name in the attendees list.
Okay, all right. So we'll move to the last person I have on my list today, and that is Ben Bakken.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Board of Education. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Ben Bakken. I'm a Holt parent of 3 at Diamondale Elementary. I'm a Holt graduate and try to be an active Holt community member to the best of my ability. I had some notes for tonight, but they've all been said for the most part. So I'm going to save a lot of that and kind of expedite through. I thought I was going to talk about health, safety, and security as a key issue, but obviously we had Sheriff Wrigglesworth on here and others. My comment there is that I remember elementary school doing fire drills and tornado drills, and now we live in a world where there are active shooter drills, and we're having to teach kids run, hide, fight, and concepts like that. It's a different world, and we need these secure entrances in our buildings for both the benefit of our students and our staff. I thought I was going to talk about learning environments. We've already talked about reducing transitions and how a student's sense of belonging goes up the more they're within a building, and reducing those number of transitions where a kid has to get familiar again with, not only the layout of the building, but relationships, with lunch staff and secretaries and so forth. And instead of it's going to allow for improved learning overall. Critical infrastructure in our aging buildings. I appreciate the district for pursuing a facilities audit that was very thorough, and I was able to see online in terms of, I think that said that in the next 4 to 6 years, the school would need to invest $90 million in the 1 million square feet of real estate that was there. And that was 2 years ago. But a lot of that has been covered too. As far as equity and access, the fact that our 2 buildings with the highest risk of at-risk kids are getting new buildings in Diamondale and Sycamore. The fact that the reality of much of the playground equipment is funded by PTOs and PTAs, you don't have to go any further than that to understand, how that's going to affect equity and access. Lastly, I applaud this Board of Education and Kim Cosgrove for the responsible debt management and the fiscal responsibility of the district, where the funding that comes in from the state and the per pupil, the goal of a district, any district, should be to have most of that money going into the classroom, which you do. Rick Brown does the best he can with the budget that he gets of improvements, but the reality is, to be able to make the critical improvements that we need for our buildings, this is how this gets funded. And the fact that the district is allowing other bond debt to roll off, other mills to roll off before they're going to the voter and asking for some of that back. The fact that about 5.16 mills are rolling off, and basically the district is saying, hey, voter, can we have 3.39 of those back? Because the taxable value of the district is increased from 500 million to 870 million, we're able to generate $148 million to invest in our schools for all those reasons. All those things being said, and those key bond pillars, we are a community that is defined by our school district. There is no village of Holt. There is no city of Holt. Holt is the district, and that's what we're known by, and it defines us. The reality over time, and this is my last comment, is that through all public education throughout the country, there are students that struggle to learn during normal times, and that has been exacerbated over the last year, and that education gap is a real concern for this country and for this district and for everybody else. And how we choose to deal with that, what is our next step in terms of addressing that education gap, is going to tell us a lot about who we are as a society and as a community. So I could not be prouder to be supporting this bond and voting yes on May 4th. And I will encourage others to do the same. So thank you all. I appreciate your time. And thank you to all the supporters that came before.
Thanks, Ben.
President Perry, it looks as if Mark Hendel is now present in the list of attendees.
Okay.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
We can, Mark.
Wonderful. Okay. So I'm going to vote yes for the new bond. I live in, well, they call it the Ridge. So my name's Mark Hendel. I live on the Ridge. Mr. Hornack would know that area. It's 2378 Rolling Ridge, Holt. I am a taxpayer. I lived in Holt for 6 years. Obviously, I'm not a local, don't sound local. I have no children, but I'm an owner of a manufacturing company based in Lansing. That company is 83 years old. One of the reasons that I selected the property in this area was because of the Holt School District. Perhaps I was forward thinking. Perhaps I was going to have a family. At the moment, don't have. But I do know that the Holt School District is very strong. And that's been through the forward thinking of Dr. Hornack and his team. I've listened, I've participated in some of the school activities from business side of things, and I've enjoyed that experience. Over the last 5 years at our company, we've developed a very strong apprenticeship program. And I do hear that Luke is going to look, or they're looking at the large high school to do some external activities there to get some engineering activity going on. Lansing historically has been a very strong automotive city. You may not be aware, but there's also a lot of aerospace going on in Michigan, and that's being led through MAMA, Michigan Aerospace Manufacturing Association. So we look at the news every day. We see Texas, California, Florida with aerospace. Michigan is the next place in the US where there's going to be some space activity. It's going to be in the Upper Peninsula. And for that, we're going to need young engineers coming through the system. We've got automotive, but we need other talent now. So for being based in Lansing and having the opportunity to educate young children and bring them into an engineering environment, for me, is very forward thinking. Here's a great opportunity to start planning the future, getting young engineers on board and putting the roots down. This is what our responsibilities are, is getting the roots in the ground and start helping develop young people. So from my side of things, I'll be voting yes on this. Any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Hendo.
You're welcome.
President Perry, I see one more hand raised in the audience, Rachel Smith.
Rachel, you're still on mute.
Am I still muted?
No, you're good now.
Okay, good. Good evening, everyone. Just as several other people have said, a ton of people have had great points this evening, but I would like to reiterate some of those. As a Holt alumni, a parent of 2 children at Wilcox, a 2nd grader and a 4th grader. I am also the co-vice president of the Wilcox PTO and a Wilcox Holt Equity and Assessment team member. Things I want to talk about here are that I love the Holt School District, obviously being the alumni, and now I've come back to raise my children here. I've been through several of these buildings myself as a student, Sycamore, Hope, the junior high, the high school, not the new high school. I've had nieces there though. As been stated, some of these buildings do need to be replaced. Love them, but they're getting older, and some of our buildings have to share the cafeteria as also a gymnasium. It would be best if those were 2 separate rooms so we can have a gym and a cafeteria. I think we all can understand why that is. Now I'd like to say I'd like equity across all of our Holt buildings, meaning not air conditioning in this building and not air conditioning in that. All of our students should have access to the same air conditioning, the same quality of playground equipment, the same quality of parking lots. We don't walk to school like we used to when I did. When I attended these schools, the majority of our children do the drop-off pickup lane. Our schools are not designed for this. It's absolute chaos sometimes, especially in the winter with the plowing and you can't see the lines and so on and so forth. All that needs to be redone. As been previously commented, jumping back to our playgrounds, the PTO is responsible for that. Different schools have different involvement in their PTOs. Giving them different advantages to the playground equipment they can provide for these children. That's not always fair, because sometimes the reason these parents can't participate in much as the PTO is because they're working 1, 2 jobs and they're just not able to. The secure entrances of these buildings is another key point that I really like. To have the entrances available to our children to walk in and out of the buildings, begin the classes, and at the dismissal times. But during the day, the building's shut down and they have to come through the office and see someone, and then it's decided whether or not they belong in that building. That relieves a lot of stress for me as a parent of 2 young children. It's not the same world. I wish it was, but it is not. We need money to make these renovations to our buildings. The career centers that was brought up, Mr. Keck, excuse me, thrilled about that. I remember shop classes and all of that we used to have at the end of the school. I loved it. And he is absolutely right. In the last 20 years, we've been funneling everybody, go to college, go to college, go to college. Not everybody is built just to go to college and get a 4-year degree. A lot of kids were going to college, then they'd get their degree and they weren't happy. Then sometimes they'd have to go to a trade school and spend just as much money learning a whole different trade. Not only was it a waste of time, but a lot of times these kids would find themselves in depression because they weren't thriving and excelling what they thought they should be, because they saw that as their only path or choice. If we can bring this into our Holt schools, instead of saying you have to go off ground to find your desires and excel in what you want, that makes a huge difference in their mental mentality. And I just, overall, I think that this will bring Holt up. I know a few people in our district that have school of choice to Okemos. There's no need for that. Keep our people here. Bring us up. Bring every school, Holt school, up to the same level. I love this community, and I'm voting yes on May 4th, and I hope everyone else does too.
Thank you, Ms. Smith.
That is all that we have this evening, President Perry.
All right, thank you. Well, we're going to turn it right back to you, I think. We'll move to teacher tenure recognition, and Ms. Dalton, if you could run the show and introduce these 4 new tenured teachers.
Yes, indeed. So we have 4 teachers that will be receiving tenure this year, and I have statements from their principals that I would like to read to everyone. The first teacher is Megan Curtis. Megan teaches 3rd grade at Elliott Elementary School. Principal Andy Weiss shared the following information about Megan. Megan is a great asset to our 3rd grade and our Elliott family. She has displayed a high skill set since my arrival in August 2019. She is very astute within technology and has provided leadership to our staff in that regard. She shows compassion and empathy to our highest need situations. Megan is a building representative on the district leadership team. She leads with a quiet demeanor and has progressed to becoming the grade level leader for 3rd grade here. Megan participates within our building leadership team and is a voice for the staff in numerous settings. Megan has displayed tremendous professionalism in her interactions with challenging parents. Megan's ability to create a comfortable environment, both of students and parents, is an intrinsic skill that she has. I highly recommend Megan Curtis for tenure. Dr. Hornick, did you want me to read through each individual?
I think that's
first?
best. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
By the way,
Wonderful.
you're doing fantastic. And yeah, and I'm very proud of everything that we're hearing as well. So
Yes.
4 amazing teachers.
All right. Next up, we have Adam Janicki. Adam teaches German at Holt High School. Principal Michael Willard shared the following information about Adam. Adam has been a true asset to our modern language department. From the first day he was hired, students made instant connections with him. He makes learning fun for students and really wants them to connect with the German program. He has supported trips to Germany and invests his time to make sure that students leave Holt High School with a well-rounded cultural experience. He has recently pursued higher education to become a school counselor, which further shows his commitment to support students. I recommend Adam Janicki for tenure at Holt Public Schools. Next, Carly Kroll. Carly teaches first grade at Wilcox Elementary School. Principal Tracy Hoyst shared the following information about Carly. Miss Carly Kroll has been a first grade teacher at Wilcox Elementary School for the past 5 years. Carly is a dedicated professional who always puts the needs of her students first. She works hard to get to know students and their families on a personal level and is skilled at differentiating her instruction to support their academic growth. Whether it's closing a learning gap or stretching students to reach their maximum potential, she communicates regularly with the parents of her students, keeping them informed of their students' progress and how they can help at home. Carly is a team player and collaborates with her grade level teammates during regular planning meetings to review curriculum mapping, ensure that priority instructional targets are hit, and meetings, and student assessment data, formal and informal, are analyzed to determine next steps for effective planning. Carly is flexible and works well with support staff in coordinating their services into her weekly and daily schedules. Carly participates in professional development to enhance her growth in early literacy and mathematical skill development and social emotional strategies that enhance student self-regulation. Carly readily supports her colleagues and contributes to a positive school climate at Wilcox. I enthusiastically recommend Miss Carly Kroll for tenure with Holt Public Schools. And finally, we have Brittany Olischek. Brittany teaches 5th grade at Hope Middle School. Principal Scott Horde shared the following information about Brittany. Miss Brittany Olischek is an exceptional educator. She is a strong advocate for all of her students, and she understands the importance of meeting the needs of her students to ensure they are able to learn to their capacity. She works really hard to build lasting, positive connections with her students and families. She offers opportunities for her students to learn at their own pace, but ensures her students are meeting grade level standards. Ms. Olischek is exceptionally strong as an instructional leader in math. She gives explicit feedback to her students that allows the students to move through the learning process as they take ownership of their own learning. Brittany is a leader in the building when it comes to technology usage in the instructional model. She seeks professional development to better her knowledge of instructional best practices with technology, and she often shares this new knowledge with her colleagues. I highly recommend Mrs. Olischek for tenure. The board is hoping that it will be safe enough to host a tenure recognition reception at the May 10th board meeting for all of these amazing educators.
Many thanks and congratulations to our new tenured faculty.
Thank you, Ms. Dalton. And like Ms. Dalton mentioned, we'd like to see it back at the May board meeting, depending on where we are at with the state of Michigan at that point in time. But congratulations to all. All right, board members, we'll move next to the consent agenda, and you have listed there those items that we would approve in total, which include the special meeting of March 4th and our regular and committee of the whole meeting of March 8th, as well as approving the bills that have been paid since the last board meeting. And lastly, the gifts received for the district. And Dr. Hornak, I don't know if you want to mention a few of those gifts. I know that Dr. Chi has been a very supportive person for the whole public schools in the past.
Yes, that's a fact. Before I go too far, I'd like to congratulate our 4 teachers and thank the administrators for joining us tonight. My go-to move is wow, wow, super wow. And what I heard was just definitely that. And I'm very, very tickled and proud to be serving alongside and sometimes behind the 4 administrators and the 4 teachers that just earned their tenure status. So congratulations to all, and I look forward to that face-to-face reception whenever it's safe to do so. So moving forward, under the consent agenda, we find you have the typical bills paid in the minutes that you described, but I do want to highlight the fact that Dr. Chi has been very generous to Holt Public Schools. Annually, he donates $5,000 to the Chi Library over at Holt High School. This particular year, he donated another $5,000 to help us with our Korean exchange program. We have a wonderful partnership where we have hosted Korean exchange students for a few weeks here at Holt High School. We've actually sent faculty and staff, and I believe a few students the other way as well. In addition, Millcraft is a new paper company, new to Delhi Township. I should say they're not new to the paper world, but they're new to Delhi Township. They contacted us through the Lansing Chamber, mind you, and said we would like to donate 10,000 masks, and the Chamber put us in touch with Millcraft. And so we took possession of 10,000 youth masks that are disposable. So we have those sprinkled throughout the district. Wonderful and generous donation. In addition, Styles Landscaping, an alumni of Holt Public Schools and a Delhi Township company, knew that there was some need in our community, and he went to Sam's and bought 2 pallets. I'm not talking about fill your back end. This is 2 pallets full of cereal. I was there to unload it. We had to actually commandeer the high school soccer team that was training on their own, a preseason training run, and we asked them to come over and remain socially distanced to help us unload it. It would have taken us hours for 3 of us to unload. However, we had a team of about 10 to 15 young ladies from Holt High School soccer that helped us. Again, seriously touched and warmed my heart. And finally, Billy and Colleen Moore have donated some funds to Elliott, and I would ask you as a board to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented and wish to reiterate the thank you for the generous gifts that Dr. Hornack issued.
I'll second.
I have a first and a second. Any discussion? Christine, are you going to do the roll call?
I sure can. Trustee Dalton.
Yes.
Trustee Halgren.
Yes.
Trustee Jones.
Yes.
Trustee Leonard.
Yes.
Trustee Perry.
Yes.
Trustee Roble. Yes. And Trustee Burrow is absent. Motion carries.
Okay, thank you. We'll move to reports and the 2021 bond update. Dr. Hornack.
Thank you, President Perry. In the committee of the whole tonight, you heard from our bond partners. You heard them talk about where we've been and where we are going. I've presented to each PTO. I've presented to many of our service groups, such as the Rotary and the Holt Business Alliance and the Lions. And I'm scheduling this week to then have a secondary a meeting with our secondary parents so that they can again hear a presentation, a truncated presentation, as well as ask some questions. On the 29th, we will be hosting our next community forum. That'll be a virtual forum. However, that morning we'll be out in Diamondale for a community coffee focused on the bond. And I need to take you all back. While I think most of you are aware, this work started in 2018 with a facilities assessment. And coupled with 3 different firms walking our property, we also allowed and encouraged our faculty and staff to submit their lived experience through a survey. And we captured that all into one several 100-page document. So this work it has been happening over the last several years. Again, I've been as many places as people will have me in terms of just sharing factual and accurate information. What I can say is has been vetted through our bond attorney. And final parting words on that, I would urge everyone to visit www.hpsbond2021.com for the most updated information. That bond website is updated almost on a daily basis. Questions continue to come in, and if they're new or we're not able to find a similar question that it's already been posted, we will then build out a response to that and post it to the website. So we are within 15 days of the election, and I think you heard quite a bit of information in the committee of the whole. So that's it on the bond.
All right, thank you, Dr. Hornak. I don't see Paige out there. If anybody does, let me know.
I'm going to check my email. I thought she was planning to attend, although she did have an AP, I think government assignment, but I will check. If you want to move forward, I'll check my email.
All right, thank you. So we'll move to report 6.3 and Dr. Holgren with the Ingham School Official Association.
That group has not met since our last board meeting, so I have nothing to report.
All right, we'll move to 6.4 and Ms. Dalton, the Holt Equity Access Team HEAT report.
Thank you. Well, in September, the Holt Public School Board adopted a resolution to declare that racism is a public health crisis. Among other things, that resolution stated that the board desires to implement rigorous actions to share stronger statements recognizing all students who are entrusted in our care. It's necessary, I think, now for me to state that this has been an extraordinarily trying time for so many in our learning community, including our Asian, Sikh, Black and African American, and transgender students and families. I want you to know that we see you and we continue to work to effect school and system transformation toward racial, disability, and other forms of educational justice. The month of March, or excuse me, the month of April celebrates many different events. It is Celebrate Diversity Month. It is Arab American Heritage Month, Autism Awareness Month, National Child Abuse Prevention Month, and it is Earth Month. There are several dates that we celebrate in April, including World Autism Day, Earth Day, the National Day of Silence, Yomi Hashwa, which is the Holocaust Remembrance Day, Baisakhi, which is a Hindu and Sikh holiday, the start of Rezvan, a Baha'i holiday. Of course, Earth Day is April 22nd. I want to let you know about a few things that HEAT has been working on. Currently, we are having a Black Students Matter t-shirt sale. The t-shirts are $10 for adult sizes and $5 for children's sizes, and will be distributed in time to wear on May 25th, the 1-year anniversary of the death of George Floyd. Also, we are engaging in community dialogues regarding policing in schools. If you are interested in participating, please register to attend virtually. Links can be found in the peak of the week for both of those events, or on the district website. If you just click on the HEAT icon and see the links under student support. And that is all I have for Heath this evening.
President Perry, we do have some videos we would like to share. So Kevin, would you be willing to roll video 1?
In 1996, I was one of the first school of choice students in the greater Lansing area. I transitioned from Lansing schools to an affluent suburban school district, embarking on my freshman year of high school. A vulnerable time for so many, changing to a new school during this time was overwhelming. What I never anticipated was the isolation and invisibility I would feel over my high school years. Because I was a student that did not reside in the district, I learned quickly that living in Lansing was looked down upon by many of my peers. I sat in several classes over my 4 years of high school where I listened to ignorant, racist rhetoric about Lansing, hearing words from classmates that clearly vocalized their disgust and disdain, while many of the teachers in those classrooms remained silent or redirected the conversation without calling out these grossly inaccurate statements. My stomach in knots, heartbroken by such abhorrent insinuations, I hid inside myself, focusing on my education and the small group of teachers that were my life rafts. Time and time again, I would avoid sharing where I lived with any new friends, worried they would have the same sentiment as those that were so vocal in the classroom. It was such a conflicted feeling, as I was proud of where I lived and who I was. It took years for me to trust and share myself with a very select group of people, because I knew that sharing my truth could leave me vulnerable and exposed to the hate and judgment I witnessed time and time again. It breaks my heart to know that 25 years later, many of these same assumptions and prejudices exist for our school of choice students. While I hid within myself all those years ago, I have worked diligently to lean into those feelings and have continually pushed myself to speak out for those who may feel voiceless. For 15 years now, I have welcomed the littlest learners into Holt schools, striving every day to make sure each and every one of those students felt accepted, welcomed, and part of the Holt community. I have always felt that my greatest responsibility of being a teacher was to both educate and embrace each perfect human for exactly who they are. I am proud to work for Holt, but I also recognize that we need to do better for all our students to ensure they all are welcomed and accepted each and every day. I share my story with you because it is my greatest hope that we as a community can rise above the assumptions, accusations, and negativity, and recognize that when a student walks through our doors for the very first time, and every time after that, regardless of their zip code, that they are forever a Holt Ram.
I'm Christine Lopez, parent, community member, and proud employee of Holt Public Schools. We are working to change the culture of HPS. All students are welcomed, loved, and accepted here. We are all Holt Rams.
My name is Julie Jackson, and I'm a Holt Rams parent.
My name is Demetrius Jackson, and I'm a Holt Rams student.
And we are
all Holt Rams.
Hi, I'm Molly Silvestro, one of the assistant principals at the high school. Your zip code does not matter. We are all Holt Rams.
Hello, my name is Ms. Koffold. I teach English at Holt High School, and I wanted to show solidarity with our school of choice students because we are all Holt Rams.
My name is Taryn Henderson. I'm one of the Spanish teachers at Holt High School, and your zip code doesn't matter to us.
Hi, my name is Sarah Moore. I'm a parent, a teacher, and a coach here at Holt Public Schools. We are all Holt Rams.
Hi, I'm Karen Hunt, literacy specialist at Holt High School. Just want to tell you all how much we love having our kids from all over here at school. It's really enriched our community.
Hi, my name is Gretchen Gibbs and I teach French and coach cheer at Holt High School. And I'm here to say that we are all Holt Rams.
Hello, my name is Katie Balecki and I am a teacher. I want to tell you that your zip code doesn't matter to us.
I'm Dom Knighton. I'm a parent, I'm an educator, and your zip code doesn't matter to us.
As the parent of two ex-School of Choice students, I recognize we are all Holt Rams.
Hi, my name is Kelly Switzer and I'm a teacher at Holt High School. I would like you to all know that your zip code doesn't matter to us.
We are a diverse learning community. We are not defined by our zip code. We are all Holt Rams.
Hey Holt Public, Superintendent David Hornak here. Everyone belongs in Holt Public because we are all Holt Rams. Wow, wow, super wow.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Very well done. Nice.
Can we skip to item number 13? I mean, really, that was a mic drop. Unbelievable. I know we have other business, President Perry, but I'm just very proud.
Don't tempt me, Dr. Hornak. I
No,
was
I
almost
know.
ready.
I'm just very proud of our learning community. You know, we are all in this together. You've heard us say together is better. Zip codes, addresses don't matter to us. Everyone belongs in Holt Public.
Yeah, well, wait a minute. I mean, you got the best news of the night up next.
Yeah, I do. So let's see if we can promote Leah Porter. There she comes. So like we talked about, thank you, you know, with our tenured teachers, we need to do this properly face-to-face when we get a chance, but it's with great pride and the enthusiasm that I share that Wilcox kindergarten teacher, Leah Porter, who was actually the first video we watched, was named the Michigan Regional Teacher of the Year for Region 6. That's where Holt is. Yeah, congratulations, Leah. She's served in a variety of roles over the last 15 years, including reading recovery teacher. I was a former co-teacher with her, kindergarten teacher, teacher leader, and interventionist. She also has passion, Board of Education, for serving the underrepresented student, and she is an active member of our Holt Equity and Access team. I don't expect Leah to say anything tonight unless she chooses to do so, or you choose to ask her a question. But I'm very proud to announce that we have the Regional Teacher of the Year located in Holt Public Schools. And she's choosing Holt Public.
That's awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you, Dr. Hornak. I just wanted to say, and to the whole board, that I am really, truly humbled by this recognition, and just recognize that I am one of many fabulous educators in our district, and I am very proud to work for Holt Public Schools. So thank you for acknowledging this kind of uncomfortable award for me tonight. I feel a little bit of discomfort with it just because I feel that I work with just so many wonderful people. So I'm just very humbled and proud to represent Holt in this way. So thank you.
And Leah, we will do this in person when safe to do so. Congratulations. Just for the record, Leah has or will be soon interviewing to be considered for the Michigan Teacher of the Year. And you know what, we're proud already. So if that ends up happening, you know, that'll be just the additional celebration. So again, congratulations. Thanks for joining us tonight. Yep. President Perry, I do have some additional items. I think as we're rolling through, I'm like, let's end on a high note. This is just wonderful news, as you mentioned. I'd like to bring you up to speed, board. I know you're well aware of our current educational delivery. So each week we meet with the local health departments, and we took their advice 2 weeks ago, and we paused middle junior high and high school, as well as athletics. After we antigen tested our athletes and antigen tested our students who are in the musical, which will be a virtual musical, but they are doing some small group work together, we reinstated some programming. We also heard from our health department that they would like us to take one more week of virtual delivery for our high school. So this particular week, we reinstated our middle school and our junior high. So this was also a defining week in Holt Public, because this was the moment where some kids came back to school for the first time in well over a year. So we are delighted to where we are right now. We know we're not necessarily meeting the needs of everyone, because, you know, it'd be great if we had things back to maybe 2019. The reality is we are still dealing with a pandemic. We're doing our best. We continue to be celebrated from our medical partners in regards to our mitigation strategies. The fact that we are now promoting the vaccine for students ages 16 and 17, because our 18-year-olds are considered adults. So again, I've been asked more than once, are you going to hold a vaccine, mass vaccination site in Holt Public Schools? We have the infrastructure to do it. We have the agreements to do it, but we're just waiting for the health department to say, yes, we need you, Holt, or no, we don't. In the meantime, there will be a survey coming out shortly that discusses and is asking our families to determine which 16 and 17, maybe not which, how many 16 and 17-year-olds are interested in the vaccine, so that the health department can then schedule enough vaccine to meet that need. You heard in terms of some of the heat initiatives, we have a t-shirt sale going on, and we will be wearing those t-shirts together. I'd also like you to know that in the very near future, we'll be posting our Director of Equity and Inclusion position. And that will be, we need all of you to share that as wide and far as you can. I'd like to thank some of you on this call for participating in the development of that, that particular job description. I also need to thank members of the HEAT team for helping with that video that we just watched. Conceptually, we took a seed, a brainstorm idea prior to spring break. Of course, didn't do much of it, of anything over spring break. Reconvened this group, I think last Tuesday. By Wednesday, we were like, I think we're ready to launch. We hit it in the social media, put it in the peak at the week, and what you saw was just incredibly well put together. The fact of the matter is we are all Holt Rams, and I mean, that's all there is to it. I feel like I do have a mic here. I want to drop it, but we are all Holt Rams. We are currently walking through a facilitated community conversation regarding our school resource officer. Our HEAT team doesn't have any preconceived ideas about whether we should or should not have a school resource officer. Our HEAT team actually has the vision to say, let's engage stakeholders. Let's develop a common understanding and determine the purpose and understanding of a school resource officer. We're in the middle of that right now. We have 8 to 10 focus groups that are meeting. A small number of each of those participants will be advanced to a larger community conversation where we co-construct the next steps of our understanding and purpose of the SRO. We had a childcare rebate grant that went through. I'm very tickled to announce the fact that Heather Crandall wrote a grant, and she wrote it with the intent of, if she received it, she would be rebating some money to our childcare families. And in fact, that took place. She rebated $200 per family, I believe, for the month of September. I'm just blown away by that. Are you kidding me? How wonderful is that? Our destination imagination teams are moving on to globals. Again, we are DI. We have more destination imagination teams advancing to globals than any other district in the state. Our Science Olympiad teams continue to outperform our neighboring districts, and we are just continuing one after another to produce wonderful outcomes at Science Olympiad. The Holt Education Foundation gave out their awards between our board meetings. And so, you know, we had an opportunity to recognize several of our faculty members, including Tracy Hoyes as Educator of the Year. I'm looking for my notes here. Dan Knekel as Educator of the Year. Maria Serrata as Educator of the Year. Brandon Curran as Educator of the Year. Dr. John Girdwood, he's the class of 1997. If you haven't caught that, he continues to remind us that maybe 97 in Holt was a really special year. By the way, Dr. Girdwood runs the Holt Community Foundation from another community. That's how powerful his testimony tends to be. And Debbie Raisky, so Dr. Girdwood was Alumni of the Year, and then Debbie Raisky was Community Member of the Year. Lucas Schraben wrote a grant for $10,000, and that grant is focused on developing a more diverse teacher candidacy program, what have you. And we'll bring him to the table in the near future. We have, in coordination with his early college, built a pathway from Holt High School into the LCC Early College, right into CMU. So we are going to be growing our own. And I'm just like, wow, super wow. So I'm jumping all over tonight, but let me just get to a few other things. In terms of recent professional development, we continue to engage with the Great Lakes Equity Center with bi-monthly training. We're continuing to work through our equity-oriented strategic planning. We had 3 intensive days. We've had maybe 5 or 6 off-campus days where we have come together as a group. Our Student Voice podcast continues. We have student office hours. I was invited to speak on a national segment called A Seat at the Table last week with Peter DeWitt. Peter DeWitt is probably a top 5 educational leader in the nation right now. I was very honored to be a part of his weekly segment called A Seat at the Table. I'm a part of the Michigan Association of Superintendents and Administrators Extended Learning Opportunities Work Group. We meet weekly. I don't know. I think that sums it up. I'm very, listen, I was done for when we got through Leah's video. So I'm doing the best I can, but thank you all for your leadership and service. This is a very proud superintendent moment. So that concludes the superintendent's report.
All right, thank you, Dr. Hornak. Just a couple of items, board members. Our next board meeting will be May 10th, and most likely that will be in the auditorium as we return to in-person. And we've had one meeting there a while back, as you remember. So the setup will be the same. For the public, this will end sort of the Zoom culture of our board meetings that I know you've enjoyed. However, we will try to get the same both audio and video production of the board meeting is similar to this Zoom meeting, but it may take us a while. It may take us a couple times to get it right, but that's our goal. And then lastly, as you heard all evening, May 4th, very important day. So please get out there and cast your vote. So next on the agenda, curriculum department and the Steve and Jesse show.
Good evening, board. And I'd really rather just leave it as the Leah and Heat show because that's really great stuff. So shout out to Leah Porter. You're awesome. And also just a quick shout out to Taryn Henderson, who I know did a lot of work on that video. And working with the Heat team is always humbling. There's so much knowledge and energy they bring to the table. So I love presentations like that. I don't love following presentations like that. Like, okay, so now we're gonna do the curriculum office. No, it's not a very long presentation tonight. Much of the same that we have discussed before. You should be able to see the PowerPoint there, so the community can see it as well. I believe it's also around page 94 of your board packet if you want to follow along. Some of the topics we will be covering tonight are typical continuity of learning plan, the academic data, attendance data, and our data collection. Tonight we will also be looking ahead a little bit, reflecting on our high flex instructional delivery model, what is to come. We do have a pretty in-depth presentation for you next month around some strategic planning and what you can expect to see as we wrap up the school year. And then, of course, our instructional environment recommendation and public comment at the end of our presentation. So to kick it all off, academics, Mr. Netzel.
Good evening. I was thinking for a minute we were skipping to agenda 13 or item 13. I was all in, but
yeah, he teased us for a minute there. Skip it.
I know. So again, good evening, and as Jess shared at the beginning, we don't have a lot to share, but there are a few things I do want to highlight in some of our slides. As we continue each month to submit the continuity of learning plan, this is a monthly requirement that we also submit to the GEM system, which is a reporting system. This month was actually pretty unique, and we'll talk a little bit more about it later in our presentation, but we also had to respond to some of the grant money that was offered out there under 23B with summer school and some other pieces. So I appreciate the team that came together here to help complete that grant work, and I'll share a little bit of that with you later as well. But for the academics, just to highlight a few pieces, we'll be benchmarking in the spring. As you know, we are required to benchmark in the fall, winter, and spring, and so we will be completing that in May. It's kind of tricky because we're also providing opportunities for the standardized tests being required by the state. So we have a balancing act between what our instructional time with our kiddos and what requirements we have to meet. So that is currently going on, the standardized piece. Also, out there in the education news, the read by third grade law was not waived. And so we are going to be expected to follow the law and the expectations. And so we will be preparing some documentation, which some parents have received stuff a month or so ago, but we will be following up with our obligations as a district around the read by third grade law expectations. And so, again, with the academics, one thing I do want to share is I'm really excited about a gradebook training that's happening on Wednesday. And Jess and the tech team and the IT department have done an amazing job prepping, and shout out to them. I'm really excited about what this will offer our teachers and in the long run offer our students and our parents as far as feedback on how they're doing in school. So I know that's a little beyond the norm with the academics, but those are a few things that I wanted to hit upon. Any questions with this part of the slide? All right. So moving to the next section, attendance. So I want to clarify a few points with attendance. You will notice that we have added percent signs. So what this percent represents, Trustee Dalton, I saw that smile. What these percents represent at the TK6 level is what percent of students have a P, which means present, 4 out of 5 days of the week. And so our classroom teachers are taking attendance in Power School, and they also do a two-way log. So this number that you see in front of you represents the percent of kids that got present, means they completed activity, participated some form or manner 4 out of the 5 days. Then if you flip to secondary, these same component, percent sign, this is the percent of students who have 2 or more Ps in their second hour each week. So I want to clarify that again is 2 Ps or more in their second hour. So these are the attendance procedures that Holt Public used with the guidance of Holly Scott and Pupil Accounting and our auditors to take attendance for the 2021 school year through the remaining part of the year. So I think that's it on those two, Jess. Next slide, this is our shift. Our shift took place today. So we made the shift from, we had the survey that went out for the first 4 weeks, was kind of awkward because we had that spring break piece in there. We sent the survey out. We prepared our buildings, and here are the results of what the newest survey that went into effect today. This is for the remainder part of the year. We will not be surveying again. One of the things that we had really needed to keep our pulse on is with the shifting of students, especially those coming back in the building. We needed to make sure that we were able to maintain our distancing and our mitigation strategies. And so we have been working with the building principals. They've been working with the classroom teachers, working with food service, with the lunch component. And so there's been a ton of collaboration going on in order to keep in mind the safety of our students as a priority. And as you can see, the changes that occurred, the plus minus, and then you see the total change to the far right. You know, one of the pieces that we do to help with tracking our students is within Power School. Our tech department has worked with our building principals, secretaries, and we actually use a little icon in Power School to as an alert to know what mode of instruction, so we can help track our students to make sure everyone's in the right place. So again, this is our shift, started today. Didn't know if there's any questions you guys possibly had with this this part.
So I hear you say that you want to, you know, look at spacing, that was a concern. So I'm just curious how that's going, because some of these buildings, you know, there's quite an increase, and I just wondered how did that affect spacing, and do you feel like, you know, we've been able to maintain that in every classroom?
Yep, great question, Trustee Dalton. I spent a good portion of Friday afternoon reconfirming with some principals that had some concerns, who they were reaching out to the building or to their classroom teachers to assure. You know, when I look at the number, let's use example Sycamore 33, that's quite an increase. When you consider that spread over 15 general ed classrooms, you know, there are some variants. And I will tell you, like at Sycamore, there was one classroom where not even one more student could fit in that room in order to keep us to what our goal was. And fortunate in a way that for the strategies of safety, that teacher did not get any students added. So I do know that on Friday, building principals were still working, communicating with classroom teachers to make sure spacing was appropriate, and we were in a good spot to launch on Monday. There was some question of maybe a couple classrooms might have to do a little alternative lunch kind of thing to make sure that teachers felt comfortable with the masks off. And I trust that our building principals have done a great job with that. We've brought it up at the directors meeting. We brought it up at the principals meeting. And so today, when I'm basing on today's feedback, I think it was a success, Trustee Dalton, of keeping to that goal.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions on the shift? All right, that gets us to just our typical update monthly with our data. I did, oh, sorry, hold on a second there. I did add something here, and I don't know if it was on the last one, but the COVID metrics dashboard that I'm uploading to the website now has this bottom row with the CDC indicators on it. Sorry, that's not very big. But I have the 4 different levels of transmission that the CDC has identified, and then links to both the CDC data and a map of the United States where you can click on the county and get the specific data by county. So our metrics dashboard now has the original data we'd gathered, as well as a 5th row that gives the CDC indicators. And my hunch is that that is where we are getting some of our health department guidance from, as far as our secondary or high school remaining remote. The CDC guidance, as we discussed last month, does in the high transmission areas encourage high schools to remain remote. And those numbers really did spike over the last couple weeks. I've pulled them since spring break, and I was shocked like how high, you know, you would assume during periods of vaccination they wouldn't have spiked, but here we are. So the high school remains closed or remote this week. I don't know if human resources will talk about this a little bit, but we have talked as a team pretty regularly about how we do now use the metrics as a way to gauge the effectiveness of our safety protocols in the buildings. So what we want to see is, even though community spread may be high, what we don't want to see is spread that we can relate back to the buildings. So that is keeping Dr. Quinlan very busy, but whenever we have a student who reports a positive case, there's a lot of contact tracing to determine whether or not there was illness spread within the buildings. And I don't know if HR will talk on this tonight. I don't want to step on any toes, but at this point we're feeling that our mitigation strategies are preventing the spread from within the building. Now, you know, community spread is community spread, but within the buildings we feel that the mitigation strategies are working. And then just another slide there that reviews what the CDC measurements are for each level. Any questions or conversation around the data points? All right, just a quick HyFlex update as well. I feel like we've been in HyFlex instruction for a really long time, and then I was counting back the weeks, and if you count spring break in there and then our couple weeks of remote for 5/12 and 9/12, we haven't had a lot of consecutive weeks of HyFlex instruction. But I had shared with you all, I believe earlier in March, an Excel workbook, and page 1 of that, or tab 1 of that workbook, had the link to the priority standards. We continue to work off of those as a reduction of our typical standards, so as to ensure we're getting substantive instruction around fewer things instead of trying to cover all the typical things we would in a year. We are, as Steve had mentioned, updating Power School to reflect our recent survey data. Students have a little indicator that gets turned on if they are a remote student, so that we have the data we need for state reporting. We continue to update our protocols on the website, communicate with contact tracing, as I talked about earlier. State assessments are continuing. I did share some numbers with Christine Lopez, and I'm sure she can share them out with all of you if you'd like, regarding the number of students who are testing. We did have a number who were signed up to test or indicated they would test at 7/12. In the number who have tested has been lower than that number, which we have a makeup day coming up for most of the assessments, and actually having fewer students test on any given day works out better for the safety protocols. So state assessments did continue. I anticipate that they will be using the makeup days pretty heavily. But at this point, we are planning to continue with the HyFlex schedule. We are hoping to send a survey in April to get feedback from both our staff as well as students and families. And then we'll continue to work with the health department when determining should we stay HyFlex or shift to remote instruction. Any questions on those slides?
All right, looking ahead, basic sections I want to kind of walk through with you guys. The first is the strategic plan. The focus is equity oriented. The initiatives have been designed to the equity oriented strategic plan team, which has done an amazing job, not only with the foundation of the plan, but as the team slowly rolls into bringing other stakeholders in. So it's amazing the progress and the work that has happened, as Trustee Dalton has mentioned, in a short amount of time in an earlier comment. It will be shared in May, and I think Jessica mentioned that in our next board meeting. And this will also address some of the data that I know that was requested and that Jessica shared with you guys in regards to some of our subgroup data in our district. So stay tuned, more to come. Staffing and hiring continues. You will notice if you went on our employment page on our website, we have some nurse postings. We are really excited that our restorative justice facilitators are in our building. Each building has one 5 days a week. You will notice also social work postings. We have a posting up for this year where we know a retirement is occurring, and we are looking to get somebody on board sooner than later. And then we also have 2 postings to recognize for next year. So we are definitely thinking about the needs of our students when they return in the fall, and we are increasing our social work support teaching positions. We started that process about a week and a half ago, where building principals submitted their placements for their staff. We reviewed that this afternoon, and you'll see in the near future some postings within specific buildings with openings. So that is coming up in the next week or so. The Director of Equity Inclusion team has been meeting to refine the posting. It'll be in the near future, and as well as the Mental Health Director. So these are some of the positions to highlight. Summer learning experience. We are in the midst of planning for this summer. And so I am going to talk a little bit about the TK6, and I'll hand it over to Jess to expand a little on the 712. But the TK6 is going to be kind of broken up into 3 sessions. It's going to be a 2-week session, a 3-week, and then a 3-week. And I'm really excited about what we are planning to offer. The first 2-week session is a little bit more of your traditional summer experience with some remediation to some standards, some pre-teaching for future standards, but we're also going to be providing some elective support, meaning kinetics, art, music will be offered, possibly STEM. So we're still wrapping around that whole child approach. Also having an intervention on-site, interventionist on-site, special ed teacher. So a pretty robust staff. Then the next 2 sessions are each 3 weeks, and that's going to be project-based. I'm really excited that we have taken this pathway. Dr. Hornak forwarded an article last week that I got about 2 days before that shared a lot of research on the best practices of what we should be offering our students in the summer, and project-based is right there with what we should be doing. So we are still preparing for these sessions. Our community, our parents and guardians received a survey to show what their interest was, and we received over 260 replies so far that are saying they're interested in 1 or more of the sessions, and they shared what session they're interested in. So the next key piece is we have lots of postings for staff, right? So we need teachers, we need paraprofessionals, we have a building principal or someone oversee each site or the site for this time. So I think it's there. I think the interest is there. We just got to get the personnel to run it. And I have received a lot of questions from the community, and I encourage them to email, as I can't capture the whole experience in a Google form. It's kind of difficult. So like I said, I encourage them to reach out with questions that they might have. Some of the logistics, if you're wondering, are unfortunately tied to the funding source. You needed to offer it 5 days a week. That is it needed to be an 8-week commitment over all these sessions. So there are some pieces that we had to follow some of the rules in order to access the funding, but we're excited. Transportation will be offered. We're going to offer food service, and we're considering hosting it at 1 building. That's our goal. So I threw a lot at you. I don't know if you have any general questions or thoughts.
I'm not sure I have a question, but I do have something I wanted to offer to you before I forget to tell you.
All right.
I have for STEM for like the 7-8, I do have something that I've developed for an MSU 7-8 program, but we haven't been able to run it for the last 2 years. So I wouldn't mind doing it for us instead. To get in touch with me later about that if you want.
Nope. Junior high and high school don't have a ton of different structures than what Steve just talked about. The high school has the credit recovery summer school that Kim Reichard structures and organizes. And that is like high school credit recovery. We're also exploring both at the junior high and high school learning recovery models that are a little more flexible, standards focused, project-based, what like Mr. Netzel been talking about. Still working with teams from both buildings though to refine those. The high school credit recovery is pretty clear and defined, but the learning recovery options still working with some teacher teams on. Same idea though of a 2-week right when school gets out for some immediate support, and then 2-3 weeks, especially at the junior high, we're looking at the 7th grade and an 8th grade option in the summer for kids to come in and work, not just on specific learning targets, but also executive skills, community building. We just want to ensure that kids enjoy their experience and that learning is engaging. And our Boomerang program, the web program, and Ram Crew at the high school, those are those student mentorship programs that we started this school year, or last school year. Those also plan to run some summer community building programs to welcome back. I have talked to some parents who are concerned whose students haven't been in the building ever before. So like our current 7th graders that have been remote all year, our current 5th graders or 9th graders, in the Ram Crew and web program will attend to ensuring students who weren't in the building have time to get acclimated and feel supported upon return. Any other questions for this looking ahead slide?
How do we get the kids back to these programs? I mean, those kids that really need this, is there some type of assessment, placement?
Like to determine what they should do, or?
Right, to make sure that those kids that really need this and can use it, are know that it's there, and we make sure that they're participating in it.
Sure.
Yep. So you want me to go first, Jess? Or yeah?
Sure.
So that's a good question, Mr. Perry. So there's two pieces. There's one, traditional summer school has always been kind of limited number and certain at-risk factors in order to apply. This is a little different because of the way the funds. We are, there's two different approaches to it. One is we will reach out to certain students based on ones that would benefit the most from this experience. And what we'll use for those is our individual reading improvement plans that have identified kids that are academically behind. So each building will have a designated person that does kind of the reach out community piece to the families to try to get them signed up. That is quite the chore because it's a lot of communication, a lot of going back and forth. We've learned a lot through the pandemic with remote learning, and I think we'll make it more efficient, but that is one piece. The other piece is because of the pandemic, all kids fall under at risk right now. So the criteria in order to have a kid come is really wide open. And so we will target students, we will invite as many we can, but my number one concern is that we will have enough staff to be able to service the students that want to access it. That is my concern. So to summarize, we will definitely reach out to certain students in each elementary and middle school building that would benefit the most and look for a commitment for them to attend the sessions.
Yeah, I just see what you're doing here as being a really critical, to these kids.
I will tell you, and Kim can elaborate more on this, is we have tried to break down every barrier every time we try to run a summer experience or school. We have a really difficult time for getting commitment for kids to come for many different reasons. And even when we offer transportation, we have struggled to keep attendance about 70% at best. So we're continuing, and as Jess said, we need to make it fun. Like we need to that's part of it, and that's why you'll hear me use the word summer experience. You're not hearing me use the word summer school because of what the message we're trying to get across.
I think school is fun. I heard you. Can I quickly ask, is transportation and meals included in this planning?
Yep. So transportation will be offered to students that live in our, just the same procedures live in our district. We will offer, like we do with the day-to-day operations. Food will be offered. What we're thinking is that kids on the way out will grab a sack lunch because our session will run 9 to 12:30 every day. We will have a snack that will be provided in the morning. The other piece is it's really up in the air, but right now the approach is that we are going to be following the same mitigation and safety protocols we're doing right now. Like, I don't want to assume the pandemic is gone once June comes, and that means we're only going to have like 10 or 12 kids per teacher. So that is another piece of why staffing is somewhat of a concern, because I believe we still need to honor our safety protocols that we are doing right now. So
Any other questions? All right, that takes us to our last slide as far as our monthly recommendation. For this month, we're recommending a continuation of our high flex instruction. We will close classrooms, buildings, programs based on health department guidance, staffing, resources, and/or COVID incidents. And then I believe we have public comment.
All right, we'll move to public comment. And for anyone that would like to address the board specifically regarding our extended continuing learning plan update, you may do so at this time. However, you realize that this is not a dialogue between yourself and the board. There is a 5-minute time limitation. We ask that you be courteous. We also ask that you do not use any employee's name or student names. And lastly, if you could state your name for the record. We'll go
We
back.
have one hand up. Sally Hawk Harrison.
Hello, it's me again. And you know what? I know I'm not supposed to say a name, but I say the names of the Steve and Jessica team. Thank you, thank you, thank you for putting the percentages on those spreadsheets. It makes a whole lot more sense than just having, thank you, Steve, for laughing. Rather than just having numbers, because it just didn't make any sense to me to have just these numbers when I know there's more than 97 kids up here at Diamonddale Elementary. So for months and months, I was very confused by that. And I appreciate you guys. So I appreciate you. Thumbs up, kudos, super wow, 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 however that goes. Thank you. That's all.
All right, thanks, Sally. Anyone else, Ms. Stolten?
I do not see any other hands raised at this time.
Okay. We will close public comments and move to a vote on the extended continuing learning plan. So I will entertain a motion.
It's very quiet in the room. I will move to accept the continuing learning prep plan as presented.
I will second.
I have a first and a second. Ms. Lopez, if we could do a roll call.
Trustee Dalton.
Yes.
Trustee Hallgren.
Yes.
Trustee Jones.
Yes.
Trustee Leonard.
Yes.
Trustee Perry.
Yes.
Trustee Rogel.
Yes.
And Trustee Bureau is absent. Motion carries with unanimous consent.
Okay, thank you. Next on our agenda, facilities. Mr. Brown, you have a couple of requests in here.
Yeah. Good evening, Board of Education. Thank you for seeing me this evening. And I do have a lot to ask this evening. And I'm going to let you decide. Would you like me to just go through them all and we'll vote at the end, or would you like to vote on them as I go? Oh, Kim's okay. All right. I got that answer quickly. The first item I'm going to ask you to approve this evening is to reinstate the co-ops, the Omnia and the Sourcewell co-ops. They are purchasing co-ops that Holt previously belonged to, and I let lapse, and I didn't ask in the last July meeting, and I will make sure I do that this July. I'll add them to my list of approved co-ops or consortiums, they call them. The one Omnia I would like to approve, they for the dynamic air cleaners, Train belongs to that, and we can purchase those through that at a reduced cost. And Sourcewell, the carpet places and tile places, which will be next month for you guys, they belong to Sourcewell, and we also get a very good price on carpet and vinyl tile. The next item I have is the junior high roof replacement. It's a very large section of roof. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Could we ask for board acceptance of that? I know that Rick said that we had let them lapse. We were still members. They were just not presented in July as we present all of the consortiums that we're at. So I would just ask that as acceptance before we move to the next one.
Thank you.
So the movement would be to approve rejoining the purchasing co-ops, correct?
Accepting Omnia and Sourcewell as consortiums that we can purchase at without having to bid, because those have already been bid and vetted through the consortiums.
So how do we word that?
You could say just what Kim said.
Yeah, so what Kim said, I motion for an approval of Omnia and what's the other one?
Sourcewell.
Sourcewell.
Yes.
I will second.
I have a first and a second. Any discussion?
So this is what we would have had in previous years, except that we just neglected to hit it in July.
You just list them. Yeah.
Ms. Lopez, if we could do a roll call.
Absolutely. Trustee Dalton,
Yes.
Trustee Halgren,
Yes.
Trustee Jones,
Yes.
Trustee Leonard,
Yes.
Trustee Perry,
Yes.
Trustee Roble,
Yes.
and Trustee Bureau is absent. Motion carries by unanimous consent.
Okay, the next item I have this evening is the junior high roof replacement. It's a very large section of roofing that is, I believe, eight to 10 years old. And it was, I'll just say, improperly installed. It wasn't industry standards at that time. So it wasn't no one did anything wrong on this end. It was just the way they were doing them. They did it with PVC and then ballast rocks on top of it. And PVC shrinks and expands extremely a lot in the cold and the heat in Michigan. And it's literally ripping off the walls. Since I've been here, I've done numerous repairs to it just to keep the water from infiltrating the schools. And finally, I believe that I have enough money and capital to replace that. The project came in at $409,827, and then the company gave me an alternative bid, which is a little different for me. I'll just be honest. And looking into that, and then I had a consultant come sit with me. I hope that you all had time to read the board pack, but the single bid, I don't want to be the person to make that decision. So I asked for some help to make sure that the market value is there and the costs are correct and things are on the up and up, so to speak. Also, I'd like to ask, because that came in at $330,132, I'd like to do the projects that I had slated for last summer that I canceled due to COVID, which is about $80 worth of roofing. And it's just some small sections that need to finish up a couple elementary schools. It's very small sections. I will tell you, and I want to inform you that the roofing company called me today and said, if we don't sign this soon, the escalation is going through the roof. And they're having troubles getting steel, and all the parts are out in the ocean in San Francisco because the longshoremen are on strike. Anyways, he just highly suggests that we get this done as quick as we can and get on their books.
Can I ask a quick question?
Please.
You said that the roof was installed 12 years ago, and then I see on the paperwork you gave us that there was something about a 20-year warranty. Are we getting some warranty coverage on that replacement, or is that just, I don't know,
No,
is that sunk cost? What happened?
The TPO product that I've been purchasing since the 3 years I've been here, it comes with a 20-year warranty.
So the new roof comes with a 20-year warranty. It's not,
Correct.
We can claim on the old roof.
I'll tell you, Dr. Hallgram, I want you to know that I fought hard for the district and I did get some materials paid for, but the materials were nothing and the labor is what cost. So I was able to get some stuff warranted. It's just, it's a losing battle. And we're not the only ones that have this situation. It was just not a good way to do a roof. They thought it would work, I guess. And I was as frustrated as you all are, actually. That's why it's taken me a couple years to get to this one, but it really is getting really bad. And this will take some more work off the bond that we won't have to do with the bond too. this will put the junior high roof in decent shape. It's not going to be completed, but it'll be a big chunk of it will have been completed the last 3 years.
And I know the answer. I'm just stating this kind of for everyone. There's no way that that roof is going to last until we get to the bond. If we, assuming the bond passes, you need to keep a roof on a building. Otherwise the bad things happen, really bad things.
I would have to pay substantial fees this summer to get it repaired, like I have the last couple of years, just to keep repairing it.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Brown, I read this material and then I was just kind of curious. You said that they did it one way in the prior year and it didn't work, but now we have an alternative to what we were going to do. So you see my question? I mean, do you feel comfortable we're actually doing the right thing to this roof to make sure that we get the longevity for what we're spending?
I do, Dr. Perry, or Mr. Perry, excuse me. The one thing is they put the rocks back on it. I don't know if everybody knows what a ballasted roof is, but the older roofs, they put the paper down and then the insulation and then rocks to hold it down from the wind. And that was the problem. The vinyl's fine. If you just did a vinyl roof with no ballast, it would be fine. It's the rocks, it's the ballasting part that they thought they were getting away with, just moving them to the side, doing the roof and pushing them back, because it costs quite a bit of money to have those abated. You have to have a vac company come in with a truck and suck them off the roof, and then you've got to take them to a place. And they just were saving a few pennies that ended up kind of blowing up in everybody's face. And again, the TPO is a full 20-year warranty with an option to add 5 more years to that if I do a program that they come check the roof and do some maintenance every year. I'm not going to ask you for that tonight. I'm going to think about that for a little while and see what we want to do. But that 25-year warranty is a pretty good warranty, I believe. Did you guys want me to just go to the next item then? I'm sorry. We're going to
No,
vote
I
on
think,
this. I'm sorry.
yeah, I think we're under Kim's instruction to do them one at a time. So
the total would be 410,000 with a 10% buffer just in case. The one just in case would be the decking at the junior high. Possibly could need some replacement because it's metal and that roof has been so bad for so long. There's just a possibility, and I don't want to not ask for that 10% and then have issues this summer and have to come to you guys at a special board meeting. So I would just ask for that. I don't anticipate needing it. I believe I spoke with a roofing guy today, and I do believe that this 410 should get the junior high done and the small little sections that we didn't do last year for about 80.
Just to be clear, this 330 is an alternate because they believe that underneath the roof, it is still solid. So if they pull it off and it's not, and it's been compromised, we will need the 410 at the junior high.
They
and
did
won't
use
be able to do the other projects.
They scanned it with the nuclear scanner, so they're pretty sure, but they can never say with 100% certainty. I'm not sure the name of the scanner, but it's about a $35,000 machine that they can see through the roof. And
I really want to know what a nuclear scanner.
Yeah, I don't know. Nuclear might not have been the right one. Temperature thermal scanner there, that might be it. But
sounds like something that shouldn't be out in the wild.
it's a really, really neat machine that none of us have, obviously, but roofing companies do.
So if we do approve this tonight, they can get that done over the summer. That's what you're saying?
That would be correct.
I move that we approve the bid for the junior high roofing contract.
I will second.
I have a first and a second. Any discussion?
I mean, it's a chunk of change, but I mean, it's within your budget. And honestly, if we don't do it, it's going to get a lot more expensive, right? So, I mean, I don't like spending money either, but I think we need to do it.
Roofing and asphalt are very expensive items.
Ms. Lopez, if we could do a roll call.
Trustee Dalton.
Yes.
Trustee Hallgren.
Yes.
Trustee Jones.
Yes.
Trustee Leonard.
Yes.
Trustee Perry.
Yes.
Trustee Robel.
Yes.
And Trustee Bureau is absent. Motion carries with unanimous consent.
Okay. The next item that I'm going to bring to you tonight is the JV boys or baseball field, the JV field that is in very poor condition. It's actually unplayable. The kids, they don't even practice on it. I'll just tell you, there's no fencing. There's a little bit of fencing in the back. It's all falling apart. The field is just in horrible shape. This project would entail all new fencing. Well, except there is a backstop and there's a little bit of fencing on the side. So I'm going to leave that and we're going to add to that all new fencing, which is very expensive and more so now because of the steel tariffs. A new pitcher's mound, a new batter's box, and the infield all redone. I don't know if anybody's been over there, but it looks horrible. And a parent was trying to help us, and he took all the infield material off, which then sat because of COVID, and is all full of weeds and needs to all be thrown away. It can't be reused. It's too infiltrated with weeds. I believe, and I feel pretty good about this, that once that project's done, between them and my staff rolling it, mowing it, and getting it back into shape, and we're going to try to look into how we can water that because it does not have irrigation either. That field will at least be usable, at least for them to have a practice field. If not, I know their goal is to be able to have tournaments on there. I don't know if we'll be able to do that this year, but hopefully within a year or so we'll get it back. I do want to make sure everybody understands I dealt with Renee Sadler on this, and she feels comfortable. It'll be equitable. It'll bring the girls and boys will both have about the same facilities. That's about it.
So I see Renee's on the call. This is the field at the junior high.
This is at the high school.
This is at the high school, but it's the JV field. Okay, I did walk by that and wondered what that was all about when I saw the pile in the middle. Is that we need that in order to support the programs that we have? We can't do what we need to do on the fields that we've got.
Yeah, that's correct. Fortunately for us, we've had a lot more participation in baseball over the past few years, where we've added a third freshman age team to our program, and having 3 teams but only 1 field presents us with challenges in terms of getting everybody equal, access on the field to practice. So having a second field is certainly a goal, and has been a goal for a couple of years now.
So you only had one bidder on this project. So, both to Renee and Rick, do you feel comfortable with that quote that came in?
I certainly do, because I've worked with that company for approximately 15 years or so on other projects, on other athletic fields, soccer, football, baseball, and softball. So I know that company will do a really good job. So I feel 100% comfortable. I'm not happy that I got one bidder. And if you go back to the roofing, I only got one bidder, and that is all due to COVID. That's people are so backed up that I was surprised when I put the mulch out that I got more than one. Honestly, it's just the construction's really doing well. So,
Rick, I have a
Renee,
question.
I'm sorry if I haven't interrupted you. If you could answer, sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Rick, I have a question.
Go ahead.
This proposal says fencing, infield, pitcher's mound, batter's box. Don't we need to include the outfield and up to the warning track if we put in a warning track? Because that outfield is pretty horrible.
So that's where I was saying that my staff's going to try to do their best to get it rolled really well. And once the company water management's finished, then we'll be able to help out. And then I know Renee said that the coaches from the baseball team and the parents that we're trying to help already will pitch in and finish that up for us.
So. That is correct.
Okay, and then can we look into a sprinkler system, or Renee, would we bring in one of the football big sprinklers to water that?
Yeah, I think that's kind of our plan. In talking with our grounds guy at the high school, we do have a big water wheel that is mobile, and that's certainly how we would at first tackle the water issue. And I think Rick probably can back me up on that.
That was my plan. We're going to look into that. I've not been here when they've watered that, but I'm pretty sure I saw a hookup behind the backstop for a water wheel. So I wasn't here. They've never done it since I've been here because the field's not been used at all. So I want you to know that to totally do that field over was about 148,000, not counting irrigation. So that would probably have been another 35, 40,000. So I just kind of, I guess I got to the 95 mark and thought that that's quite a bit to spend on that to get it playable. And you know, Renee's wishes were get it playable, get it safe and playable. And that's what I think I've achieved.
Okay, and then when you do the fencing, are you going to make it so people can't drive through there?
I will have one gate to drive the mowers in, and that's
Right.
it. So there won't be an open area anymore. There'll be one gate on the far end. That'd be the south end of the gate toward the foul marker. And yeah, it'll be shut. It should be shut and locked. We could put a gate on. We could put a chain on it also.
Thank you.
Why did we let it get to the condition that it's in? Is it we just didn't use it, or I mean?
Yeah, that's a good question, and it really started before Rick was around, and actually before I was around. I think our previous coaching staff, baseball coaching staff, had different practice schedules, different working schedules. We had a sub-varsity coach that was a teacher that could practice right after school. And then the varsity coach was not on staff and so worked until 5 o'clock. So couldn't do his practices until later in the evening. So they only used one field and kind of let that other field go. That was quite a few years ago. And once it goes, it's really hard to get back. In addition to, I think Rick will have some opinions on this, it wasn't installed correctly to begin with, which is unfortunate. The bases and the mound were improperly installed, and that made it challenging to utilize as well.
Yeah, that's one thing I can guarantee. Once this company's done, things will be right. They will be, when they leave, it will be 100% right. Now it will be up to us to maintain that and the baseball team and clubs to maintain it, but I know it will be right. It'll be perfectly to the specs, which it was not ever. So that's why it's so expensive, because there's a lot of work to do. For that pitcher's mound, it's going to completely be redone, the batter's box completely redone, and that whole infield completely weed killed and all new material brought in, which is very expensive.
So I assume, I think baseball's going on right now, right? That you've got teams that are vying for the space. What are they doing right now? Are they just using a field at Elliott or something instead of the high school field?
We are very creative with our time schedule in the space that we do have. And that, we're just shifting people and creating, in addition to COVID protocols as well, creating small groups and using all of our spaces.
So Rick, when I sit here and I listen to you say that things weren't done correctly last time, I have full confidence in you after this bond passes, when this bond passes, that all of this will be done correctly, because I have great respect for you when you sit here and say it wasn't done correctly, but I know that it will be. So kudos to you on that when the bond passes.
Thank you for that. I appreciate that. And I will do my best with hopefully Mr. Ted Moore helping with me behind me. So thank you.
All right, I would entertain a motion then on the JV field.
Correct.
Make a motion for the amount of 48,000. No.
95,000 plus 10%. I'm sorry if I didn't say.
Not good at the math. Sorry.
Yeah, but you just got it cheaper for us.
I try, Mark. I try. Sorry.
Be the 95 plus 10% buffer, just in case.
95 plus 10%.
Thank you.
I'll second.
I have a first and a second. Any additional discussion?
How does this fit within your budget, Rick?
I'm good. Thank you. I'm
okay.
Good.
Just wanted to make sure we weren't making a hole somewhere else.
I think Rick mentioned this, but I just want to confirm we're good with Title IX issues, that this all balances.
Yeah, if I can speak to that a little bit. Our softball area has 2 playable fields right now, and we did just spend quite a bit of money with some irrigation issues on that field last year. And so I kind of feel like our baseball only has 1 playable field at the moment. So this will actually get us to equity.
Thank you.
Any additional discussion? Ms. Lopez, if you could do a vote, roll call vote.
Absolutely. Trustee Dalton.
Yes.
Trustee Halgren.
Yes.
Trustee Jones.
Yes.
Trustee Leonard.
Yes.
Trustee Perry.
Yes.
Trustee Robel.
Yes.
And Trustee Bureau is absent. Motion carries with unanimous consent.
Thank you. The next item I have is, I'm sorry. The next item I have is district mulch. This will be double a year, not last summer because of COVID. The year before, we were very inadequate on our mulch depths. It's supposed to be, I believe, 14 inches, and we weren't making it. I'll just tell you that. I'm not going to tell you what they were, but the insurance company and I went around and we definitely were lacking. So I bought 1,000 cubic yards that year for about $24,000. This year, I knew I didn't do it last year, so I know it's even worse than it was then. So I want to go ahead and get 2,000 cubic yards. And the one thing I want you to know is I believe if I know we're a couple years away from the bond and buying playground equipment, but if we happen to buy something new, we can just push it to the side and reuse it. So I just don't want you to think that we would just throw that away. Now in 3 to 4 years, it pretty much disintegrates and that's the end of that. But if we did work in the next couple, maybe 2 to 3 years, we could push it to the side. But after that, it'll be no good. But I did reach out to companies that blow it in so that we don't have to use any of our labor. And they will do this job in 1, possibly 2 days, pretty much 1.5 days, the guy told me, which is amazing. 2,000 cubic yards is a lot of mulch. And I did get 4 bids, and the low bid was Superior Ground Cover, and they're out of Grand Rapids area, and it's $48,000. And I'm gonna go ahead and ask for the 10% just in case, but I'm quite certain that I won't need that, but I'm just gonna go ahead and ask for it just in case something happens. That'll bring up all the playgrounds to the legal depth, and then some.
So to me, that seems like a lot of money for mulch. I don't know that I've ever paid that much per yard for any kind of mulch. Is that includes, I assume, transportation, shipping it from wherever they're shipping it from, installation, the blowing in, all of that stuff. It just seemed like a high number to me for mulch.
Correct. And Dr. Hallgren, I was like, if you looked at the bids, they were 50 and 48 and then 98 and 95. So
yeah, I saw that.
So, I mean, it was, I didn't really know what to take of that, but I know.
I feel like I'm in the wrong business. I should be in the mulch business at this point.
What I was told by Hammond Farms is the difference is that the ones that were 48 and 50, they own the mulch place. They make the mulch. These other places buy it from someone and then bring it here and then they blow it in. So they're having to pay the upcharge. So that, because I couldn't figure out, so I made some phone calls. I couldn't figure out why it was $50,000 difference. So of course I wanted to know why. So that's the why. Yeah, it does include everything, fuel, all their costs. And again, I remember when I was a young man and I was working grounds at Okemos and we did mulch all summer long, 3 of us all summer. That's all we did. And you imagine what that cost the district. And this will be done in 2 days max. So, and then the kids will be safe for the whole summer and I can feel good about that. And the insurance company, when he comes and does his playground inspection, I won't get talked to.
So Rick, on all of these jobs, are these 2021 fiscal year expenditures, or are some of these going to go into next year?
Kim might be able to help me with that one. Oh, yeah, I do have it on a sheet going. The 2021 would be it'd be mostly in the 2021, or Mr. Perry, excuse me. Some of it is, let me see here.
So the mulch is an ongoing expenditure, and it is not part, I do not believe that it's part of that work in progress. That is part of his operational budget. It's a requirement from our insurance. So you won't see that on here, or you shouldn't. It is just the, yeah, I don't see that one for the mulch.
But we'll have it done before June 30th.
Yes.
Yes.
If I get the contract to him quickly, yes, they said they could accommodate it before July 1st, it would be done.
This listing that you have for the planned work for 2021 in the summer, that list is pretty robust. It does have the tennis courts on there. It has the track. It has the junior high football stadium, the building, the track. Those are, and I'll let Rick speak to this, but those are his high priority items. And even we have to weigh that if the bond passes or doesn't, but some of these things are not safe. So
the tennis courts are in very poor condition. I will tell you that. The track's not bad yet, but it's getting there. The junior high track's in poor condition also. So we have 2 tracks to maintain as long as we have junior high track. And they're, as you can see, they're pretty high dollar items. We're gonna probably have to start working toward planning for those replacement, especially the tennis court.
But understanding if we don't reach that 14-inch thickness, we could be in default of our insurance and then lose insurance on the playground. So it's, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a legality, and Setség's very good with us, and they understand that it gets kicked around and pushed around and washes away a little bit here and there. But when I take him and there's only 3 inches, he's not okay with that, you know. So I do my best to keep us within the law, or within the rules, excuse me.
I just looked up and it said Home Advisor was pricing between $20 to $45 per cubic yard. That's quite a range. But if you do the math, it's 48 seems like a good deal.
Blown in, that's the thing. Is the way I looked at it is almost the labor was almost free. The way if I would have bought it from Hammond Farms, the labor was free, and the blowing in's free. So,
but this is the mulch is not the typical garden mulch, though, isn't it? Like double shredded or something for playground use. It's a finer grade, I think. Or is that not true? It's just regular mulch.
I know I looked up the specs, and when I put my RFP out, I put that it had to be a specific playground grade mulch, which I found industry standards, and I've looked up a whole bunch of other RFPs from other towns and townships and county parks, and that's what they asked for. So that's what I use. And then the insurance company said I was right on that also. So
yeah, I think some of that stuff is made out of like shredded pallets and has nails and stuff in it, and yeah, I'm sure you want to get the actual playground grade. Yeah,
correct. Thank you. Yeah, I saw that news story too.
So I would entertain a motion.
I move that we spend up to $48,000 with a 10% contingency on mulch replacement.
I'll second.
I have a first and a second. Any discussion? Ms. Lopez, if we could do a roll call vote.
Absolutely. Trustee Dalton?
Yes.
Trustee Hallgren?
Yes.
Trustee Jones? Yes. Trustee Leonard?
Yes.
Trustee Perry?
Yes.
Trustee Roble?
Yes.
And Trustee Bureau is absent. Motion carries with unanimous consent.
Okay, thank you. I believe I've saved the best for last, and this is a pretty exciting item for me. And I will say I was a skeptic, and I'm a believer now. I'm going to ask the Board of Education to approve an expenditure of $905,832 for dynamic air cleaners. And if you don't know what that is, I'll help you the best I can, and we can actually have someone else come in on the call or whatever you want to do. But these are air filters that get hooked to the 24 volts, and then there's a medium, a really thick medium. I wish I should have asked for a prop here, but a thick medium, and they replace all of our filters in every single air handler, every single univent in the classroom, every rooftop. will have these for that 905, and it will trap and kill everything down to the common cold. It will kill COVID-19. It will kill the common cold. It'll kill the flu. It'll kill mold. It'll take care of all your mold issues in your buildings, which, as we know, we have some, and we have had issues in some schools. I don't believe we do right now, but we have. It takes care of smells from food and cooking. And again, I was a skeptic, and Kim can attest that at first I said, this is just hocus pocus. After spending, I don't know, probably 100 hours on Zoom meetings and taking as many webinars as I could, and I met with every vendor, I think, that sells every single different item, that eye waves, the UV lights, pinpoint peroxide cleaner thing. I'm telling you, I've seen it all, and I'm gonna recommend to the board that we purchase these. This will take care of our issues. I will feel very confident to go on Channel 6 News before school starts next fall and say your kids are going to be safe here, because COVID is through the air. It is transmitted through the air, and this will take care of that. And I wanted to also let you know that this money would come from the ESSER funds. We have enough money left from there, so this would not come from the general fund. Kim can back me up on that. So I would ask for your consideration with that, please.
This would be in every building in the district?
Correct. And I know that, I would say the cheap person in me, but so we're going to put it in a building and then tear the building down. But the thing is that we can't put kids in a school and not have it at other schools. It'd be like the air conditioning problem, right? So, and they only, I don't mean only, but they last minimum of 2 years, but they can last up to 5 years. And then you change the medium in them. You don't change the whole filter. You just buy a new medium. It looks kind of like the stuff in a filter, but it's probably about 3 inches thick. So again, I should have got one for you. I'm sorry. So the other thing is it'll offset some costs for a minimum of 2 years, possibly 5, for my people not to have to change them. But I would ask after 2 years, we definitely check them. And the company that sells them said that they would help with that. And then you just order all new, and it's at a fraction of the cost. That is one thing I can't tell you exactly how much that would cost, and I need to find that out. I should have asked that.
So this sounds like changing every filter and every building on campus is going to be. That sounds like a lot of work. Is that able to get done over the summer? Are we just adding in air handler or little filter units to every air handler we have? Is that what the deal is?
Basically, you just take out what you have and you just slide in the new device, and they click, they kind of latch together with a latch, and then you run a wire to a 24-volt transformer. So that'll take a little bit of labor, but Train is telling me that they will get it done before school starts next fall. So that was my push too, Rob, is that I don't want to get them and then there's 3 years before we can get them installed.
Right, as it sounds like. I mean, that's a huge amount of work to touch every air handler.
I guess it's not that labor intense. Some school districts are doing them on their own, but I know of one school that they've had them for 3 months and haven't got them in yet. So to me, that's why bother? So I would prefer to just pay the whole amount, get them in, be done with it. And then again, we can say as a district that we've done this. Every single room is covered, and the kids and the staff will all be protected. I'm in that too. So I would really feel good about this. And I know it's an expense. If you see the breakdown, you'll see that the high school's it's $312,000, almost $313,000 just for the high school. The junior high is 102, North Campus is 150, and the rest are pretty, a lot smaller. So, but it does add up. But again, we do have the ESSER money left, and I believe that would be a great use for that.
So just approximately, when we go to change those filters in 2 years, what do you think that cost would be?
Okay, media replacement will be less than you spend now. So right now I spend about $18,000 a year on filters we change them 3 times. And the guy that sells for the Train proposal here is telling me it'll be less than what we spend now. So it'll be less than 18,000 a year, I guess. So, and he's promising me he will have it. They will be installed before next school year starts. So I also wanted to let you know, and I don't know if it matters or not, but almost all Ingham County schools have bought these. Okemos, East Lansing, Grand Ledge, Mason, and I don't want to keep going, but I know those ones have. I don't know if they have them all installed, but I know they purchased them.
Well, this is kind of one of the things I'm worried about. If everybody's buying them, somebody's got to install them, right? I mean, there's got to be a pinch point there at some point. But if they're promising they'll get them in.
You know, Rick, this meeting was going pretty good until we got up to you.
That was a big number I saw, and that was going to slow me down on this whole
that's
thing.
Nobody was spending any money until I got up. I know.
But
I felt it too.
This is COVID relief money that can only be spent on certain things, and this is one of the things that we can spend it on. Is there a competing thing that this money would be better used for, in your opinion, or is this the best use?
At this point, I think it is one of the best use, and there are, we'll go over grants and we'll talk about those this month and next month, but you have capacity to do this, and this is well within the reach. Actually, it is specifically stated in the COVID money for ventilation.
And Dr. Hallgren, I would just like to share that as we look at all of these proposals and some that you've already approved, we are on a multi-year improvement plan. Okay, so we have to go back a few years, and Rick has this multi-year plan to make this the best possible district he can with the resources he has available. This investment in the lives in the district, I think it speaks for itself. We're going to keep the stakeholders healthy to the best of our ability. There's some additional items to consider: improved air quality, better performance from staff and students, less sick days, reduced liability, and then there's some energy savings as well. I'm here to support Rick and the team, and of course you. I just see this as being a really thoughtful investment.
Rick, if I'm a teacher in my classroom and you put this in, am I going to be able to tell the difference?
No, the air still will go through it. It'll still, heating and cooling, it'll air conditioning or heat. Yeah, no, you will not.
So it's not additional noise or anything like that.
No, it looks just like a regular filter, but it's in a metal box, kind of like it's wider. If any of you have the electric static on your furnace at home, it's kind of like that, but not as simple. It actually saves energy. It'll actually run less. It won't run as hard. The motor won't have to work as hard to push the air through it. So you actually have some energy savings also.
With the buildings, can they be moved to the new buildings, or with the new buildings, they'll have filtration systems that are already equally?
I know they're custom made for each unit, because I went through with the company and measured every single unit in the district over spring break. Maybe some of it can be reused. I just don't know. It just depends on what we put in the new schools. And the new schools, we may just go ahead and order it that way. I don't know what year we're building them for sure yet, or if and when, but I think we would probably just go ahead and have them installed.
Yeah, but most of the cost is in the high school and the junior high, and some of the buildings that we're not going to knock down, right? Each elementary school is relatively a small portion of that 900.
Correct.
Okay.
All right, I will move that we spend some of the COVID relief money in the amount of not to exceed, what did you have on here? 900,000?
900,000, 905,832.
Not to exceed 905,832.
I second that.
At first and a second, any discussion? Christine, if we could do a roll call vote.
Yeah, so I was going to add, I mean, it sounds like a good investment. I mean, it's money that has to be spent, and this is a good way to spend it. Rick, I'm glad you went through all of those air purifying options, because I've been looking at some of them too, and it's just bewildering what they've got out there. So thank you for doing the research.
You're welcome.
Okay, trustee Dalton,
Yes, thank
trustee
you.
Halgren,
Yes.
trustee Jones,
Yes.
trustee Leonard,
Yes.
trustee Perry,
Yes.
trustee Roble,
Yes.
and trustee Bureau is absent. Motion carries by unanimous consent.
Thank you all for everything. The last thing I had was the energy bond update, but I believe that we handled that already, correct? So,
Yeah, Rick, we're broke. You're done.
all right. Thank you. Thanks for everything.
Yeah, I wasn't considering spending. What did it add up to?
Yeah.
1.5, well, over $1 million today at least. That was exciting.
So just to confirm, we are going to move ahead with the RFPs for the energy bond. You would see those again before we are accepted. You will also see Jesse Nelson from Baker Tilly that would give you the final, what is the interest rate? What are those payments? And so those, you will see those, and actually you'll see that discussion again in May and in June. Those decisions need to be made before we move ahead. So just wanted you to know.
So who's going to make the decision on those three alternatives that we looked at today?
My understanding is that you could have that discussion right now and give us parameters. Don't want to go past 12 years, don't want to go past 10 years, whatever that is. You could do that right now, or we could bid them all as alternatives and you could see what those are when funding comes in.
Is it a lot of work for those providers to come up with that proposal on those three? You know what I mean? I don't want to put somebody through a lot of time and effort, or if it's not much for them to do, then have them do all three then. Does that make sense?
Yes, I do. Yeah, I agree with you. I truly, if there was anything, I was, I was one that didn't want to go past 10 years, right?
Yeah.
One of the things that the finance committee had talked about is you want to have capacity in your bonding. This is a non-voted bond and you're using your expenses that you already are. And so what happens if you get in 5 years and you need to do another energy bond to marry it and merge it if we are so lucky to pass the potential bond issue. And so, but with the water, Mr. Perry, and the school, that is a large consumption with the senior high pool and the water remediation. Now, some of those, I think that our pencils would be sharpened there. Remember how they were going to remove some lighting that might have been a closet. Why do you need to do new lighting in a closet? Because it's off all the time. And so if we were able, we also were going to look at the bathrooms as they merge with the bond issue, if that passes too, because you wouldn't want to put in a low flow toilet if you're going to rip out that bathroom within an elementary school and revamp it, because those types of things. So that type of finessing will tighten some of those prices that we have already.
Wasn't there some discussion, it must have been about a year ago, Rick, where we were talking about the junior high pool pack and maybe doing that as part of an energy bond? Whatever happened to that? That wasn't, of course, not part of what we saw today.
Well, we don't have to discuss it tonight, but I know there are some conversations on not keeping that pool. So, and I don't want to start that. I don't want to be the one to start it, but I guess I just did.
I don't want to be the one to continue.
I don't want to. I just know that there's some conversations within that building and within the community that maybe we don't need two pools. And I don't want to put, that pool probably needs $1 million worth of upgrades, with all the mechanicals, and that pool pack is another 100,000 or so. 60 to 100 probably. I think we changed directions and went, because we know we're keeping the high school pool and we know that one's close to its end life, 20 years. That's why we switched gears there. So if there's a decision that we are keeping the junior high pool for sure, 100%, then we might want to look back at that. That's why I changed it though.
Okay.
So does the board feel comfortable with a 15-year energy bond if the pool is included?
The high school pool?
Correct.
I have a hard time with that 15 years. It's just, there's, watching them go through those numbers, I didn't get a good feeling. And that equipment, you know, is it going to last that 15 years? And are we going to really, I mean, it gets harder as you get out there in years to make sure that you're going to, you're going to get those savings. The other thing I wonder is, you know, can you do that separately later on when there is more efficiency, when there is new technology?
The only thing that I think you may be missing and we don't know would be a rebate on them. You don't know what rebates will be in the future. So it is, you are right to say that. It would be my general nature not to go for 15 years also for the savings of that. And you could say we're doing all of the lighting. We're going to do the 12 years with the controls that we have, hoping that the bond will have the capacity to do the pool when we get there. So it could be done independently.
Well, I guess we're going to know an answer on May 4th anyways.
Correct.
Yeah, personally, I'm pretty comfortable with this idea of the energy bond because it seems, I mean, it seems kind of silly to keep paying the utility company when you can do an energy bond and get new equipment. It's reasonably, it's revenue neutral. So I'm pretty comfortable with that whole idea. It really is just the scope of the project. And yeah, I don't know about a 15-year term. 10 is best. 12 would be good.
So you tell us what you feel comfortable with, and Rick and I will work to make that happen and get the most amount that we can.
Why don't you have them do the 10 and the 12 then?
Right.
Okay,
Thank you. That's very helpful.
thank you. Thanks for everything tonight.
Kim, I think keep going because you're next on.
President Perry.
No,
Can we skip to 17 or whatever it is?
no. Actually, I got to go back one. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Deputy Bellinger is back, and I believe he's with us tonight. Welcome back, Deputy Bill. Welcome back, Deputy Bill. There you go.
There he goes.
And I don't know if you can, but I'll talk anyway in the event that you can.
We can. Yes,
thanks
we can.
for having me back. All right, good. I'm happy to be back. I've been out for the past few months on medical leave and light duty, but I'm fully recovered now and happy to be back with you guys. I don't have much to share with you this month. I actually just came back on March 29th, so I got a whole 3 days to report on. In those 3 days, I responded to 4 calls of service, made 4 school checks, and performed 6 hours of community policing. No actual formal events or community policing highlights from those 3 days, but we did have the Township Easter egg hunt on Saturday the 3rd over at the high school, and that was very successful. We were out there and handed out eggs with other people from the township to kids, and went well. It was a good event. So anyways, that's all I got. You guys are still frozen on my end, so if you have any questions, maybe email them to me and I can get back with you. But it's good to see everyone.
Thank you, Deputy Bill.
You as well. We always like a short report from you. It's always good news. All right, we'll move to HR report.
Good evening. We can keep it as short as you want as well. We did submit the HR report for this month. I'm not sure if we're here for any questions related to the report or any other questions you might have for me. Peter's here as well, I think.
That was short.
Yep. I guess the only thing I would want to say, just to reiterate what Jessica said, that, we continue to work closely with Ingham County and Barry Eaton District Health Departments, and they continue to confirm that our safety protocols, including the strict mask wearing, desks at least 6 feet apart in our classrooms, and the desk shields are working. And the teachers are working extremely hard, and the administrators and all of our support staff, to keep our students and staff safe every day. And it's been going quite well.
All right, thank you. All right, now, Kim.
Okay. And at 10 o'clock at night, we're going to keep this as short as we possibly can too. I do know in your packet, I did make a comment on your monthly financial packet. And if you remember when we did our budget update, we were not back at school. But we had an estimate of when we were, and we thought that we would be coming back full boat. And so we had all recess aides, all security guards, everybody there. And it had all allocations for all the paraeducators. And so as we have moved through this, and there are many positions that are still not filled, and they have been opened all year. And even a teacher, I know that Jessica, we were talking about it at our meeting this today about, we've had an open position at the junior high for math, and we've had some interviews, and we've tried, and we haven't. So I do know that our cash flow and our budget to actual are running higher than they usually are this time, which is indicative of what we thought would happen, and we would clear it up. We wanted to make sure that we had enough funds to get us through the rest of the year. So I think that in June, when we naturally do our last budget update, we'll look at that income. We have to make some adjustments for community education and childcare. There are many positions in childcare that they're unable to fill. And so those numbers are not as great as what is budgeted to. So there is what we were expecting is happening, and we are seeing it both with our cash flow and also with our budget to actual. So that's all I had, unless you had some questions. All right. So I'm going to share my screen, and I believe, can you see it? Yeah, can you see the screen?
Yep.
All right. This is a natural presentation that we do in April. And all we usually do here is tell you what are we going to do in May and what are we going to do in June as we get ready. Because if you remember, in the state of Michigan, we are required to have a budget in place for all of the debt fund, the food service fund, the special funds, the general fund before our year starts. So this is something natural. But last board meeting, Vice President Dalton had asked, how many grants do we have? What are our grants that we're getting for COVID? And so we have three slides that kind of frames what our grants are in total, and then also frames what our COVID grants are. And this first slide that I give you is the Department of Education sent this out, and they said, okay, here's the simple slide of all of when the grants are and when the availability period ends. And availability period means you have to have spent your money. So availability means spending in the federal world. So what I do want to step back and tell you is, if you didn't know, that school districts, their fiscal year runs from July 1st to June 30th. The state of Michigan's school year runs from October 1st to September 30th. And then on top of that, federal grants have a 15-month period that you can expend or have available, those funds. And so what everyone is saying, okay, when does the Corona virus relief fund end? When does ESSER 1 end? When does ESSER 2 end? And when does ESSER 3 end? And so this is really trying to put all of those together. So the Coronavirus Relief Fund, which is many rules that you cannot supplant any of your funds, it can go through December of 2021. We are being encouraged to spend that at first and get done with any of the supplementing, not supplanting issues, and spend that through this year. ESSER 1 is due through 2022, and then there's a 2023, and then the last one can be obligated through 2024. So we have 3 more years to spend our COVID money. This next one, and I apologize, but I wanted to show you the 2 numbers that are really there, and we'll get down to what we are spending our grants on, and we will look at this pink. But this sheet that you're looking at is an audit sheet, an internal sheet that we have, that we manage all the grants that we have in the district. This first line here, you will see in this year, we have obligated $4.9 million of federal grants. And I have not put the COVID, 2 of the largest COVID grants on there because we most likely will not spend those this year. We will carry those to the future. But another item that you really need to think about as we get ready to go into the budget season with the state of Michigan is we have grant money from the state of Michigan of $4.7 million. And this is sometimes what we talk about when we're saying that the state of Michigan may play a shell game. And so we have a categorical, these are all special funds that the state of Michigan gives us on top of our per pupil allocation. But sometimes what happens is the state of Michigan will say, I'm going to give you $400 per pupil increase. But then what they are able to do or have done in the past is they may take a MESPERS cost offset, which is a retirement cost because the retirement rate at the state of Michigan was increasing at such a large rate. They will roll that categorical off and just say that's part of it. So I just want you to know that $8 million, almost $10 million of grant money is sitting in our budget for this year. If I go down and drill down a little deeper, and this really was what Vice President Dalton had asked about, what are our grants and what are we spending on? This, our Title I, I don't need to read to you what we are spending them on, and I know that you've looked at them and you've seen them. This is an ongoing cost. We have our initial grant money, and then we have carryovers here. I know that Steve has stayed so that if you have questions about individual ones that we can talk about those together. All of the pink is the COVID relief funding that we have gotten so far and our plans of what we have been doing with them. And then here are other federal and state grants and what we use each one of those for. That was a lot of information, a very broad brush. I would hope that Steve, Jessica, and I will present next month what we are planning to use the remaining of the ESSER 2 money for next year and ESSER 3. ESSER 2 has a portion of it has been designated by the state of Michigan, but on the remaining portion of it, we don't even know what the rules from the state of Michigan will be. So we know what the federal rules are, but they give it to the state of Michigan and then they can set rules on top of those also. And so
Can I ask a quick question while I'm thinking about it?
Yep.
That $905,000 that we just approved for the air filters.
Yes.
That's coming out of ESSER 2.
And it could come out of ESSER 2 and it could finish spending the Corona, the CRF funding.
And it's not that when you say 43% obligated,
Mhm.
That's not part of that 900,000 isn't in that obligation, or?
Correct.
Okay.
Well, I'm going to tell you that it is all very fluid, very fluid.
Okay.
Yep. Good question. Did you have any other questions?
Not that I'm smart enough to ask.
Well, or comments, you know, I have to say that we are planning on using ESSER 2 and ESSER 3 to support 2 social workers, 2 additional social workers on top of the social workers that we have. We are planning on doing other positions within the district that we believe will, over a 3-year period of time, one by one, we can peel them off of the grants and put them into the general fund. And so we are looking, this that you're seeing here on the pink it does not, because we do not have that funds obligated to us yet, have the summer school grants. And so all of that is in addition to this.
So if I'm understanding you right, and I may not be understanding you right, that money has been specified, but it hasn't been allocated yet. It hasn't been given out. And the state or the feds or whoever's money it is could change that amount on us, or is that amount, that 4.4 million, is that a guaranteed amount and it's just how are they going to pay it out, or when are they going to pay it out, or is it that's how much they're saying they're going to give us now, but it might change when they actually get around to working out the details?
So Steve, you can say it a different way, that I am saying we have all the appropriate letters at the district that says Holt Public Schools, you are going to get for your ESSER $440, and you are going to get under ESSER 2, and you are going to get under ESSER 3. So we have all the appropriate documentation for that. Now we are waiting for the rules of how to spend it. The federal government has said, these are your broad rules. The state of Michigan may have different obligations. And that is why under that ESSER 2, the 43%, when the bills came from our state legislator to the governor said, I am vetoing a portion of this. And that portion included the 57%. And so now we have to wait till the legislatures do their chores again to obligate what those funds are. And they haven't even started talking about ESSER 3. Well, not in a public forum yet.
Does any of that money have to be shared with private schools? Or is that all 100%?
Right. Steve, my understanding, and please confirm, is that the ESSER grant, we have that non-public that we are obligated, but under ESSER 2 and ESSER 3, the federal government did another bill for non-publics, and it is not attached to ours. Is that correct, Steve?
That's correct. So the money, so right now in ESSER, we still have about $42,000 that we've set in a reserve because there's still some lack of clarity whether the non-pubs get it or not. So we have set it in a reserve waiting for clarification and have not spent it because I'm not sure if I haven't received a direction yet of how to move forward with it. So there's a chance, Mr. Perry, for example, we might find out in July, August that ESSER money does not need to go to the non-pubs, and we'll have to make some decisions of how to spend that 42 or 43,000 that's obligated. At this point, we set it aside just in case. As far as the ESSER 2 and ESSER 3, I agree, Kim. I think that is, we do not need to distribute that or offer that to the non-pubs.
And then any of these funds that are unspent at year end, they're 100% deferred. So they're not going to hit our fund balance.
So the only one that would happen to be is the CRF funds, because we have received that in total, but all the other grants, the ESSER of the 520 is the same type of funding mechanism as our consolidated grants. You have to spend the money first and then you ask for the reimbursement.
Okay.
The COVID, the 68,000, the COVID cost, categorical 1032, we have spent the majority of that was spent last year, and we've already spent that. The Child Care Relief Fund, as Dr. Hornak had talked, there was a reimbursement to families, but that the remaining portion of that is helping to, during the summer months last year and during the summer months, run those programs. Because of the reduced capacity, the expense of that program was greater than the revenues that the families were paying us. So there wouldn't be deferred. And the Michigan Connect, that computers is a reimbursement rebate, and that has already been spent also.
Well, I just want to thank you so much for this. I feel like this is really valuable. Like I feel tempted to just laminate it just as a guide as we talk about things, because it's really hard to see the big picture, you know, when we just talk about bits and pieces. So I appreciate the overview. And, you know, maybe sometime, Steve, we can talk more about what those, you know, components are to some of you know, some of the individual grants, specifically the ones that, you know, we continue to see year after year, the title grants and things of that sort. But I just really am very grateful for the effort that went into this. And I think for me personally, it's will extend my understanding as we continue to move forward talking about the funds that are available. And I'm delighted with the plan to put that money toward mental health issues and some of these other positions. And hopefully as we move forward in our budgeting process, we can, as you said, work to slowly integrate those into our normal budgeting cycle. Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. If there aren't any other questions, I would just go to the regular portion in our May meeting. That we will come to the board with the debt fund to do a budget update of the current year, and then also for next year. I have the fund budgeted for if the potential bond passes and if it doesn't pass. And so, and if it does pass, we would have to do a capital projects fund also. So we will work on those in May. The energy bond, we may see that again and have to talk about that. And then this is where we would take the assumptions. We always meet in May. We look at our assumptions, what our pupil enrollment are, if what we know about what the state is doing right now. And next month, I believe, well, actually on Friday, Jessica, Mike Dunkel, and myself and Steve are going to meet for the first pass of those ESSER 2 and ESSER 3 and trying to extend those through September 2024. So we will have a broader picture of what our anticipated plans would be. Now that's only with what the information that we have right now. If they come with rules and we can't do it, well, we certainly will go back to the board, but you know, that would help through summer school and some other things that we have had. So that would be our May. And then in June, the update to the general fund and the original for the 21-22 school years. We are bargaining with our custodians. So, but most of our other, actually all of our other union contracts are set. We know what our hard caps are. We know what our insurance are. So a big portion of our expenses we already know. So we'll be able to look at those. And you can see the other ones, the potential energy bonds, special services, and of course we'll have our truth and taxation hearing as we ramp up for next year's budget. And that's all I had, unless you had questions.
All right, thank you, Ms. Cosgrove. We'll move to the calendar. Dave, is there anything on there that?
Yeah, you know, we added 12.1 and 12.2, just a reminder.
I knew you were going to keep it quick, so I.
Yep. Yes, on the 29th, I will be out in Diamondale for a morning coffee. We're going to focus on the bond in Diamondale. We're not sure if that'll move from Morning Glories to one of the parks, but I'm excited to do that. And then May 4th is the election, which doesn't hit this calendar, but then you heard some other senior events coming up. I just think we're in the queue to it'll go fast to the end of the year. So hang in with us. And we'll keep you posted moving every step of the way.
All right, we'll move to item 11, old business. And if none, we'll move to 12.1, which will be closed session. And I would entertain a motion for that. And I think that's in your committee of the whole.
I have it right in front of me. I will.
Okay, please read it as is. Yep. Thank you.
I make a motion for the board to go into closed session pursuant to MCL 15.268, Section 8C of the Open Meeting Act to discuss bargaining unit contract negotiations.
Second.
I have a first and a second. Ms. Lopez, if we could do a roll call.
Trustee Dalton,
Yes.
trustee Helgren,
Yes.
trustee Jones, yes, trustee Leonard,
Yes.
trustee Perry,
Yes.
trustee Roble,
Yes.
trustee Bureau is absent. Motion carries by unanimous consent. And I did put the Zoom link in the committee of the whole folder to make it easier for access. Going 10 and 20.